just trying to figure out all my buttons, do you know? It's very confusing here.
How many buttons do you need?
I don't need... I need about a third of all the buttons that are here currently. It's completely over-engineered.
Is it?
Yeah. But think about it. I don't need it. Well...
Do you want me to get some gaffer tape and gaffer tape them down for you tomorrow?
Do you want to take Oshie on that one?
No, thank you.
No, me neither.
That was a quick answer, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Come here. Have a good day. Wednesday.
It is. Nice.
There you go.
Not long to Friday.
Hump of the week. Let's not wish our lives away, Lee. We've talked about this before.
That was a joke, because we used to always say, not long to Friday now, and blah, blah, man, years ago.
When it was Saturday.
When we were young.
I know. You just live for the weekends. It's funny how it changes, isn't it? All right, Lee, thanks very much indeed. Lee Gooch is back with you, of course, tomorrow morning at 6:30. It's the 9 till noon show coming up after a news update now from Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Donegal TD and Sinn Féin finance spokesperson Pearse Doherty claimed a change of government will be necessary to resolve the housing crisis. During his address, Deputy Doherty emphasised rising figures excludes the hidden homeless who are relying on the goodwill of loved ones for a place to live. He told the Dáil that no county is exempt from its effects, including his own.
This housing crisis has now seeped into every corner of our society and economy, including my own county of Donegal. And it is a direct threat to the economy, with businesses finding it now increasingly difficult to recruit and to retain staff. The housing crisis can be solved, no doubt about that. But it cannot be solved by this government or the parties that created and deepened the housing emergency. Only a change of government will deliver.
Bundoran RNLI responded to a call-out on Sunday last when 6 stand-up paddleboarders got into difficulty off Rossnowla. The group consisted of 2 adults and 4 children. The Rescue 118 helicopter was also deployed. One of the 6 had managed to raise the alarm using their mobile phone, which they had stored in a waterproof pouch. The rescue team are urging people to carry a means of calling for help when on the water, as it can make a life-saving difference, as it did in this case. Progress on the National Children's Hospital will be the subject of scrutiny at the Oireachtas Health Committee today. The National Paediatric Hospital Development Board will tell members it's very difficult to provide the completion date due to the absence of a compliant contract programme. The contractor BAM has been the subject of major criticism, and the committee will hear how it hasn't provided a monthly progress report in several months. Health Minister Stephen Donnelly condemned the ongoing delays.
I have been critical of the pace at which this project has gone on. You'll have seen the opening statement from the Chief Executive of the Development Board today, where he says that progress has been at about 2/3 of what they would have expected. It is very frustrating. The contractor is expected to deliver according to the contract. That's all we've ever asked.
Donegal Gardaí are reminding the public to never click a link on a suspicious text message and to delete it upon receipt. A text purporting to be from a bank warning of unusual activity is doing the rounds. The recipient is told their card has been placed on hold until further action is taken. Gardaí say if you have fallen victim to such scam, to report it to your bank and then to get in contact with your local Garda station. Looking now to weather, mainly cloudy with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle this morning. Some sunny spells will develop in the afternoon and evening. However, there will be scattered showers too, and some may be heavy. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees and a light to moderate west to northwest wind. That's all for now. We'll be back with the next news update at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Eurospar supermarkets are proud to be part of local communities throughout Ireland. We want to say thank you to those who go above and beyond to help the people of their local communities. Nominate your local community charity group or organisation in store today, and they could win a share of a €10,000 Eurospar Community Donation Fund. 10 prizes of €1,000 to be won. Eurospar, your super easy supermarket. T's and C's apply.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And hello, a very good morning to you. Just turning 4 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 12th of July 2023. You're very welcome along to another programme here. It is the 9 till noon show, as you've just heard. And we're here to keep you informed, entertained over the next 3 hours. But you've got your role to play. You have to be involved in it. So we want your views and your comments and your stories to 086 60 25,000. From outside the Republic, 00353 8660 25,000. If you wish to give us a call, Caroline taking your calls as always, and Eve on the phones as well, 074 91 25,000, and emails to comments@highlandradio.com. Right, okay, we've plenty to get through. Our first guest coming up very shortly, so we'll get straight to the newspapers this morning. The Finn Valley Voice, the Twin Towns will benefit from €4 million to tackle vacancy and dereliction in County Donegal. The news has been welcomed by Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Charlie McConalogue, who said it will help local authorities bring vacant properties back into use with the dual benefit of improving streetscapes and providing additional housing. And I genuinely look forward to in a year or two seeing how that money was spent, where the benefits lie and what difference it's made. I think that would be really refreshing. We've done similar stories like that in the past, and you just hope this is the one whereby something actually happens. The Donegal Post this morning, the children of John Byrne, who passed away a year ago, have raised more than €13,000 for the RNLI by cycling from Misenhead to Mallinhead. The Gilbertstown Bruckless native was well known for his voluntary work in Malin, which included the RNLI and Malin GEA. Having settled in Inishowen, 4 of his 9 children completed the charity cycle last Friday. They're donating the funds raised to the RNLI in honour of their father, who was a member of the Malin RNLI fundraising branch. What a brilliant achievement for a brilliant person and a brilliant charity as well. Well done to everyone involved in that monumental effort. The Inish Times this morning plans to include an iconic inclined elevator as part of the proposed £12.5 million tourism project at Fort Dunree have been scrapped. And I think we had, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of people on the programme who were really quite opposed to that idea. Well, the project at the former military fort, the biggest single investment by the state in a tourism facility in Donegal, is aimed at producing a visitor attraction that will explore the history of the site, its people and its ecology. It's the cornerstone of efforts by Fulcher Ireland and Donegal County Council to boost visitor numbers to Inishowen. Well, as well as removing the removal of the inclined elevator, the council has said local access to the site after the development is completed may involve a nominal annual fee. The proposed inclined elevator was trumpeted when the project was announced more than 2 years ago as the only one in Ireland. But it seems to not be now. It's not going to be. Right, on to the Nationals, as you can imagine. Wall-to-wall coverage of yesterday's proceedings. Did you watch? I mean, we did hear really effectively not an awful lot happened beyond the opening statements that we broadcast on the show yesterday, if the truth be told. I do have a... I don't think the process is completely good for democracy. It has to be done, but I think there is a minimum bar for people asking questions, and I mean this with absolute respect. I think there's a minimum bar of understanding that the TDs or senators, the majority of them asked very pertinent questions, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a minimum bar of knowledge of a situation that they should be able to reach before asking questions. And I think also they should have to listen to what was spoken about before, because there were many questions asked as if it were for the first time, but it had been the 4th, 5th, 6th rehearsal of them, and they were written down, so they weren't the questions then weren't adapted to sort of further pry. It was as they were doing something else, having lunch or something, it seemed, on occasion when these questions were being answered previously. Did you watch it or did you watch the highlights of it, and what did you think? I think we're all at this point, are we ready to draw a line under it, and perhaps maybe Mr. Kelly, Mr. Tubridy's appearance before it. I think also what happened yesterday, if you don't mind me expressing my observation is that yes, Ryan Tubridy was respectful and answered the questions of the politicians that were there, but for me it was clear that for the most part at times he was actually addressing the cameras and the people of Ireland who would have been watching, and as I say, that was with no disrespect to those asking the questions, but I think he was more interested in getting his views and his story and where he's at across to the public watching rather than to the Oireachtas members. But the Irish Times assessment of it in a forthright and sometimes emotional evidence at 2 Oireachtas committees yesterday, Ryan Tubridy Todbury and his agent Noel Kelly accused RTE of giving false and misleading accounts of the Star's remuneration, seeking to place responsibility for the controversial squarely back with the station's management. But committee members repeatedly questioned key parts of their evidence about the extent of pay cuts taken in 2020 by Mr. Todbury and expressed scepticism at aspects of their explanation about the payments made to him outside his core contract. So the way they framed it, if I'm not mistaken, is he has a contract. He's independent. He's a sole trader he is Ryan Todbury Limited. So he has a contract with RTE to present his show, to present the Late Late Show. And that's what he's paid for by RTE. He took a pay cut for that. Separate to that, they claim that RTE said that Renault, who was an advertiser, was interested in working Mr. Todbury, and he would do a series of 9 appearances over 3 years for 3 by €75,000. Is that so? If he receives that money, which he did, is that a pay cut? Does that mean he didn't take a pay cut, or do you accept that this is a separate piece of work that he's doing? So you have a building contractor, they're working on one house over there, and they go, right, I'm not making enough money there, I'm going to take on this other project over here, run the two at the same time, and that increases my income. So is he wrong for doing that? Does that mean he didn't take a pay cut is the question. But what it really comes down to now, and I heard a couple of interviews this morning on it, is that it's down to whether Noel Kelly should have queried the raising of 2 invoices to a British company, an English company, anonymously calling them consultancy fees. And what it all boils down to now is whether Noel Kelly should have said, hold on a second, there's something off here, and that in not doing so, he's damaged the reputation of his client. And some people making questions yesterday or asking questions didn't seem to know the difference between an agent and a client. But anyway, did he damage the reputation of Ryan Todbury? And that's what it seemingly has come out of yesterday. Is it plausible? Now, also, it seems that they don't believe Noel Kelly. So if Noel Kelly says that we thought all along that this €150,000 for the 2 years of the contract, that money came from Renault, and that RTE didn't underwrite the payment of this money, but they underwrit it to the extent that if Renault pulled out after a year and Toyota came in, that they would be able to do a similar deal with Toyota. That's what they're claiming the underwriting is. But members of the committee don't believe that. And they are saying effectively, even if you read between the lines, Noel Kelly needs to come in and say that I was complicit in the creation of these invoices, which was wrong. I knew we were hiding money. It was a dodgy old situation. And also, I knew the taxpayer would be on the hook for €150,000. That's what they want him to come in and say. But if he does not believe that, well, he can't say it, and we are in this stalemate. That's my assessment of where we are at this point. Outside of that, obviously, Mr. Backhurst's come in and is going to have to make some significant changes. But in terms of what started all of us, it all seems to come down to that for me now. And I think genuinely at this point, there are much bigger things for us to be worried about than whether or not Noel Kelly did the right thing in protecting Ryan Todbury's reputation. So if that's what they're focusing on now, I think they need to move on because, as I say, there are far bigger fish to fry. 086 60 25,000, your views and comments, whether you agree, disagree or whatever. I'm just trying to set something out for the purpose of starting a conversation there. The Irish Independent tells us that the new Leaving Cert sex education curriculum will normalise lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and other LGBTQ plus identities, relationships and families, rather than marginalising them to standalone lessons. The government's curriculum advisors say the approach to be taken with students will be inclusive, underpinned by the principles of equality, human rights and responsibilities. Radical changes to social, personal and health education and relationships and sexual education are set out in proposals from the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. The overhaul of the SPHE and RSE, the first for more than 20 years, aims to bring teaching and learning up to date with societal developments and equip students for living in the world today. So the relationships and sexuality strands will cover issues such as managing in-person and online relationships, including boundaries and communicating feelings, discussing sexual activity as an aspect of adult relationships characterised by care, respect, consent, intimacy and mutual pleasure. Examining of how harmful attitudes around gender and perpetuated, I beg your pardon, in the media, online and in society, and discuss strategies for challenging these attitudes and narratives. Identify and consider common signs of abusive relationships, including coercive control, and on it goes. So that is how it's going to be taught in the new Leaving Cert Sex Education curriculum. And as I say, following, we heard Taoiseach Leo, is he Taoiseach at the moment? He is? Yeah, he is. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar stating that his view is that the young people should be taught about what's happening in the world and not necessarily the ins and outs of it, so to speak, but certainly if there are people that identify as this gender or that gender, to recognise that they are there and to educate people so they understand that. But that's Leaving Cert. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. Well, the Oireachtas Committee won't get as big a viewership today, but it's an important enough issue for some people. RTE will today defend the controversial pay-per-view GAA GO service, saying it is neither realistic or feasible for sport fans to expect all TV coverage to be free to air. In the document seen by the Irish Daily Mail, RTE head of sport Declan McBennett will outline the broadcaster's position on the controversial GAA GO app, with two of the most exciting games in the hurling championship shown on the... Listen, okay, I hope again that the right questions are asked. See, in the early stages of the championship, when there's tons and tons of games, like, we can't realistically expect all of them to be shown. And if it's your county that's not on in one of the group games, you know, you're going to be peed off, but you'll get over it. But when you have four semi-finals, I don't think it's unreasonable for four semi-finals to be shown on pay-per-view. On free-to-air. So I hope whoever's asking the questions understands. That would be my view anyway. I'd say, look, okay, if there's 15, 20 games on at the weekend, right, they're not all going to be on. Some of us in some counties are going to be peed off at times, others aren't. But if there's four quarterfinals, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, I don't think it's unreasonable that all of those games will be available for free to air. And if they if they committed to all quarterfinals, semis and finals, and at least half of the key games that decide, group winners, I could live with that. I don't expect 20 games to be on at the weekend. Now, that's just my view. Again, I'm only stating that there as a starting point for a conversation, and I am very open to have my views changed on it. But I just hope that we sort of get those types of questions today. The Irish Daily Star this morning, the BBC presenter facing allegations he paid a teenager for sexually explicit photos, sent threatening messages to a young person in their early 20s, the broadcaster has reported. The fresh allegations add further pressure for the BBC as it deals with the fallout from the separate claims made against the unnamed male presenter and first reported at the weekend. And there's a third accusation that came out very late last night that didn't make the papers today, that this male presenter, nearly said his name, that this male presenter during strict lockdown, it always comes down to the lockdown, doesn't it? During strict lockdowns was off meeting someone. And I think that could be, because of the controversy of lockdowns, that could be the straw that breaks this particular camel's back. The Mirror this morning, new figures show that more than 80% of young former prisoners reoffend within 3 years. We're doing something wrong here, aren't we? Convicted burglars among those most likely to carry out further crimes. The numbers were published yesterday by the CSO to account for prison reoffending stats up to 2020. So 84% of young ex-inmates reoffend within 3 years. Do we need to be doing more to educate, rehabilitate, perhaps even punish? What do you think? And lastly, in the Sun, bonfires were lit in Loyalist areas across Northern Ireland to usher in the main date in the Protestant Loyal Order Parade season. The 11th night, fires were lit on the eve of the 12th of July, a day when members of Protestant Loyal Orders grades to mark the Battle of the Boyne in 1690. More images of Michelle O'Neill and others placed on these bonfires. I don't understand why they do it, what the benefit is. But anyway, it happened. And also, too, saw that massive one. The amount of pallets, it's really hard to get a pallet after July, but the amount of pallets in that record-breaking bonfire. And you can't, I know officially it's 2 jurisdictions, but you can't buy a bag of coal anymore and burn it. And you'd be shot for burning a few boxes out the back of your house. And we have this massive construction of wood and nails and whatever else is in it, paint, being burnt in a residential area. And it's fine. It just goes ahead. Anyway, all right, 00353749125,000 if you want to call us from outside the Republic.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Cupra, for mentor. 2 words causing quite a stir. Because this car stops you in your tracks, even when it's standing still. But that's what it was designed to do. Make a stunning first impression. And what's more, with the offers now available in July, there are 0 reasons not to choose the Cupra for mentor. Visit Connolly's Cupra, Sligo. See our incredible offers at cupraofficial.ie.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Come along to the Glencolmkill Agricultural Show on Sunday the 6th of August, featuring cattle, sheep, horses, poultry and all marquee classes. A great family day with children's fun and live music. Entries open on glencolmkillagriculturalshow.ie or visit our Facebook page.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, 22 minutes past 9. Good morning to Cam, Michael, Annie, Francis, Bernie, John, amongst those watching us live. You can watch the show every day, of course, for the full 3 hours across our social media on YouTube, on your smart TV or your Fire Stick, or across our Facebook pages as well. It's good to have you all on board, however you engage. Sean McKiernan is a political commentator and joins us now to discuss yesterday's proceedings. Just looking down through a couple of notes here in your conversation with Caroline, and I think much of it I agree with. What is your assessment of what went on yesterday, Sean? And thank you for joining us and good morning.
And thank you, Greg, for having me on. I hope you can hear me okay.
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Greg, I suppose Ryan Tubridy, primarily as the public figure, and Noel Kelly as someone who derives a lot of his income from his dealings with RTE, had 2 jobs yesterday, really, in terms of their mission. One was to restore their reputation, which has taken a battering over the last 3 weeks to a month. The second thing was that they promised significant information, and I think they delivered that. They've certainly shifted a lot of the blame back to RTE. Some of the documents that they have submitted don't tally with what RTE executives have said in the public domain and what they've said at Oireachtas committee hearings, and they'll have to account for that on Thursday. As against that, and to balance the thing up, I'm not sure it's entirely credible that Ryan Tubridy, who is a very successful broadcaster, a very successful businessman, who does do other things aside from presenting his shows, etc., and derives income from books, etc. Whilst he might have Noel Kelly out there to bat from, and he might have him doing the hard talking, I mean, is it entirely credible that he's not on top of all the income he gets, or that he's not on top of the exact sources of that? I think that bit is debatable. I think there was understandable scepticism from Oireachtas committee members on that point. And, to some extent, you might wonder, is Noel Kelly being thrown under the bus to some extent, and he mightn't even realise it.
Well, I thought what quite interesting is I think Noel Kelly is being thrown under the bus this morning by members of that committee in their interviews, in that they are saying they do not believe that they do not believe what he stated, that they always believed that Renault was going to pay this money, A, and B, that he had this absolute trust for this massive 380 million organisation, that he raised these invoices as he did from a separate company for consultancy fees and anonymous, and that line of question seems to be that he threw Ryan Tubridy's reputation under the bus. But if he believes that is the case, is it acceptable that he just went along with RTE? Because that, from sort of the front pages side of it, this is what it seems to be boiling down to.
I think it's strange that he didn't ask questions. And I mean, if he did ask questions, is he now saying he didn't? Maybe he did ask questions and he was told to ask no more. I think a big part of this, as I said earlier, though, was about rescuing Ryan Tubridy's reputation, rescuing his ability to continue to be a force in Irish broadcasting. And I think he probably has done enough. I think it will take a few days to get a reading on that. It will take, obviously, a further appearance by RTE executives to get a further reading on that. I think it will take calls into shows like yours, calls into your national equivalents to gauge public opinion. I thought Terry Prone on Virgin Media last night captured this very well. There's a couple of different audiences. There's the Oireachtas committee members who I think remain sceptical, but I don't think they're the real audience. The real audience are the Irish public. It'll probably take some time to determine exactly how they feel. Another audience is RTE staff. Some of them won't be impressed by yesterday. I think a lot of Ryan's performance, if I can call it that, was a performance, came across as a little bit overly scripted or overly rehearsed. I think people would have picked up on that. Some RTE staff would have picked up on that. Having said that, RTE is not a happy place at the moment. There's a lot of issues, and a lot of ordinary RTE staff will not be that unhappy that certain executives are now facing.
Well, I want to ask. I want to ask you about the staff, because that's the one thing we don't really know. But I mean, it was clear yesterday, was it not, that Noel Kelly was there to take on the committee, and to an extent, of course, Ryan Tubridy, and I said earlier on, was respectful, did answer the questions, but it was clear his audience was the probably high hundreds of thousands of members of the public looking on. So he was gracious to the committee, but really he was talking, in my view, to the watching public.
Oh no, I agree totally, and I think that was what yesterday was about. I do think there was a danger. Sometimes you can be overly courteous, and I think sometimes you can come across as overly scripted. And I think there was I spotted elements of that, and I think other people did as well. Now, some people won't care. I was listening to some of the Vox Pops on other media outlets this morning. There seemed to be a majority opinion in favour of Ryan. If you look at some of the online polls, and I know they're not always scientifically valid, but if you look at some of the online polls, it seems to be breaking down 2-1 in Ryan's favour. I think if there's polling done maybe for some of the weekend papers, it'll be very interesting to see what the public says, because that will affect then how sponsors and advertisers feel. And, don't forget, a significant part of RTE's income, is the state element, but is also that of advertisers. And of course, that's at the heart of what all this problem is about to begin with, too, to some extent. But I mean, they'll vote their money, they'll invest their money where the public want it to be invested. And there's another element to this, and I said it to your team as well, Greg, off air. Does Ryan want to continue in this country? He has broadcast in Britain before with great success, put that on the back burner with the Late Late Show, which was a very prestigious outing for him. And I think, in fairness, he did quite well. And I think he no longer does the Late Late Show. He only does a radio show for 1 hour a week on the radio. His pay will probably drop to reflect that, and he may pursue other opportunities in the UK or elsewhere as he did before, with some success.
Well, with some success, but I think if the truth be told, he does need the RTE vehicle to get those offers to write books or to get those offers to make alternative programming. I think sometimes people think they're bigger than the organisation that they work for, and it's only after they leave that they realise that simply is not the case. You can see that at all different levels. We need an overhaul of Oireachtas committees and how they're run and who's on them. I think, and I said earlier on, there needs to be a minimum bar of knowledge of an issue. There were people sent in there with written questions that they couldn't stray from them because they weren't asking questions. It seems they formulated themselves, questions that had been answered or were answered in documentation. And once they were challenged on it, they were banjacks. It was like they had nowhere to go. And also this tone of an opinion and sort of the inflection in the voice is right, really? Huh? Okay, I don't think that does them or this process. I think it does them a disservice. They need to, if we're going to overhaul stuff, I think we also need to overhaul who's asking questions, how they're asked, the tone of them. What is a question? What's a statement? Because, as I say, what happened yesterday, who came out of it worst? I would suggest some of those asking questions did.
I would agree with your analysis to some extent. I think this is danger for politicians. They may have feel they got a bit of a holiday. Politicians get not only a literal holiday, but a holiday from media scrutiny. And I suppose that came about a month early. All of the focus was on RTE. But I think there's danger here if this carries on too long, that people will turn on politicians. They'll say, firstly, the conduct of the committee hearings is not always prim and proper. A lot of the committee members are acting as sole traders. There isn't a coordinated approach. If I was the chair of one of those committees or I was on the secretariat supporting that committee, I'd be advising that maybe different members should take different aspects and different themes of the issues that the witnesses need to address and come at it more systemically. A lot of them are acting as sole traders. Some of them are quite good. I don't want to name check ones, but some of them are quite good. And I suppose I will name check one, if you don't mind. Colin Burke, a Cork TD, who is a solicitor, and he was quite good. But I think one of the dangers. Sorry.
No, that's okay. We've lost you there, but we got your points along the lines there. Kieran Mullally is a former RTE Midlands correspondent. Kieran, thanks for taking the time to join us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
What do you think, Kieran, as someone who's worked within the organisation, is the key issue here? Because, as I say, I said in my conversation there, I think really now the media's focusing on the sexy sort of Noel Kelly, Ryan Tubridy relationship reputation, but it's way, way bigger than that now, and maybe we're losing focus of what the core issue is here and what actually needs to change with that organisation. Is that your view, or what's your opinion?
No, you've hit it on the nail, Greg. That is my view. As a former RTE staff member, I was Midlands correspondent for RTE for over 25 years. And throughout that period, I can remember 5 or 6 times when we were brought in by management and told about the dire state of the company finances and the fact that a licence fee increase was necessary and we were going to have to undergo cuts and take the medicine, so to speak. Now, through all of those times, Greg, I can tell you that the issue of salaries and exorbitant fees being paid to top presenters at RTE came up. It came up at every staff meeting, and we had these assurances which were given by management at the time that, this has been addressed, that the cutbacks are happening. We're going to go back 15%, 20%, 25%. And, we believed what we were told as staff of RTE. And that's why I think the news which broke in the last couple of weeks was such a torpedo to myself as former staff and to present staff, because I speak to them on a regular basis. The fact that despite those promises, Greg, despite those commitments, behind the scenes, in a secret move, and regardless of what Noel Kelly says yesterday, it was a secret deal. Nobody knew of it outside of RTE, so it was a secret deal. Behind the scenes, an extra payment was being organised. An extra payment was being put in place so that Ryan Tubridy's fee of take-home at the end of the day could go up by €75,000 per year and then be underwritten by RTE. And to be quite frank about it, Greg, to the people in RTE, the average salary in the RTE newsroom is less than €60,000. And I can tell you, to most people in RTE, the ordinary staff that news was absolutely sickening, and they just cannot understand it. They cannot understand the scale of the wages that were being paid,
Well, Kieran,
and the fees that were being paid.
Can I ask you, if you don't mind, because this is an angle we kind of touched on this programme a couple of days ago. There was disquiet about this within the organisation, okay? So the culture was there. Is it not the role of the minister with responsibility of RT, but particularly these committees that are lining up now to ask all the hard questions? Did they not drop the ball themselves? Like, I think they need a little bit of a looking at to say, well, where were you for the RTE staff? Why did this have to come out before you started scrutinising this like you did? It's very reactionary, and I get it, don't get me wrong, but I think these committees need to have a look at themselves and say, right, you can blame Myron Tubridy, you can blame Noel Kelly, you can blame the executive, you can blame the board, but your argument is the same. Well, we were just told, they come in and they told us, and we thought everything was grand. Yet they won't accept that testimony from the people they're questioning. I think this needs to be broadened out, the conversation about these committees and what level of accountability they have in all of this. Maybe you don't agree, but...
No, I partially agree with you, Greg. I'll tell you why. I mean, I agree with you, firstly, that, the oversight by the committees involved has been very poor. And I agree with you that there should be expertise on those committees. It was blatantly obvious yesterday that a number of members of the committee were way out of their depth what was going on there. But the issue of the salary in general has to go back, and the fees has to go back to the culture in RTE. And I mean, you and Donegal will know this more than anybody. This culture began with a guy called Gay Byrne, a resident of the county, albeit from his holiday perspective from time to time. And Gay Byrne was the first presenter to come forward in the RTE salary situation, or star situation, and ask for a salary increase. And most people know why it was. It was a genuine situation. He had invested. The investment had gone wrong. He'd come to a point in his life where his savings were not very, very, very low. And he went back to RTE, and he told them that he'd have to leave the organisation. And I think, to be fair to Gay Byrne, he probably would have left the organisation, and he probably would have got paid better elsewhere. But the problem is, Greg, in my mind, he was the exception. He was the exception, because what happened in the Celtic Tiger years, the culture of this culture developed where Director Generals in RTE just waited while a queue formed at the door of other so-called top presenters looking for the same rates of salary. And it was ridiculous. The salary scales were absolutely off the wall. And nobody in Donegal or elsewhere could count in a situation where somebody was worth 400,000. Remember, Pat Kenny was paid up to €950,000 1 year. I mean, this is so bizarre and so crazy that I think first and foremost there's an issue for the previous Director Generals in RTE. I don't blame Dee Forbes. She inherited this situation and this culture that's there. But it has to change. And Kevin Backhurst coming in, who I think, by the way, is the right person in the right place at the right time, I think Kevin Backhurst had to say to people, listen, this is the basic salary we were paying. If you cannot accept it, then cheerio. Good luck elsewhere. We wish you well.
I think, Kieran, what it's going to come down to as well, and if you listen to Mr. Backhorst's comments, that he might be prepared to do work with Ryan Tubridy again, but I don't think Ryan Tubridy helped himself in his absolute endorsement, support and backing of Noel Kelly. I think I think it's going to be very difficult for him to re-enter RTE if Noel Kelly's still his agent, even if Ryan Tubridy comes onto the books, because Mr. Backhurst does not want to be dealing with Mr. Kelly, and he made that very clear in an interview, I think, with News Talk yesterday.
Yeah, he did. And I think, there's two things I'll say about yesterday's hearings, Greg. I think first and foremostly, after the first 20 minutes, I genuinely felt that Ryan Tubridy was distressed and angry by what had happened. It was caught badly in this situation. He wasn't aware of what was going on his behalf. And I genuinely feel he felt he was being used, and I have some sympathy for him in that respect. But in the hour that followed, I have to say that I wasn't impressed by the presentation that was given to the committee by Noel Kelly. I mean, on one hand, he's saying that, he didn't, RTE told him to do this, RTE told him to do this, now he told him to do this. Yet he still went in and sought for those fees to be underwritten, the 75. He trusted them in one respect by filling up the forms and filling up the invoices as instructed. But on the other hand, he wanted to get his hand on the money.
But you don't believe, but fundamentally then, Kieran, for that point to stand, you do not believe that he thought all the while that this money was coming from Renault, and that the only reason it was underwritten was that if Toyota came in, that they'd be able to have an agreement with Toyota similar to that with Renault. You're not buying that, obviously, because his argument falls if you don't buy that.
No, and that's the phrase that actually was used. I think it was Alan Kelly or Shane Castles who I think were two valid members of the committee, two very, very strong members of the committee. Shane Cass has made it very clear, we're not buying it. He told it's not credible. It's just not credible at the end of the day, because when the money didn't turn up, where did Noel Kelly go with the invoices? He went straight back to RTE, and he put pressure on RTE to pay out. And he knew it. And I mean, the other thing about this, and this is a basic point about accountancy and what was going on, Greg. When was the last time you went into Highland Radio with an invoice for work you're going to do maybe in the next 2 years and asked to be paid that day? I mean, this is crazy, Carry On. Nobody could operate in a system whereby invoices are presented and paid that day for work that hasn't even been done. Imagine going into a garage in Letterkenny this morning and saying, I did work for you, I'm doing work for you in 2 years' time. Here's the invoice for my bill. I want you to pay it today. I mean, it was crazy stuff. Bad management, bad organ, and that's Ryan Tubridy's fault. That's RTE's fault. But I can tell you, for people on the ground like myself, particularly because of the timing of all this, Greg, this was going on during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic. When the country was on its knees, lots of people, self-employed people there in Donegal in business were out of work. They lost their company, they lost their finance, they lost their livelihood, and they weren't coming in. They couldn't turn to anybody with an invoice looking for payment for work they never did. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, and RTE have to take a lot of the blame for that, not Ryan Tubridy.
What change? How then do they get the ship back on course? Like, I'm curious as to how Ryan Tubridy sort of saying, hold on, yeah, I took a 40% pay cut, yet he's still clearing close on $500,000. How that will play out with producers and members of the news team, who many of are on very modest incomes. Like, at the end of the day, he can only go back to his show if people are happy enough to work with him, and his presence there does not continue this culture that the new DG's trying to get rid of. That's the problem I see for Ryan Tubridy. Can that be overcome?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to have to leave it. There's two audiences going to decide this. One is the public, and the other is RTE, probably RTE management. But the public are asked to look at the quotation from Ryan Tubridy yesterday. Yes, the salary was enormous, but it didn't affect my soul. That's the quotation he left us with after the committee yesterday. Now, I don't know how that's going to wash with a lot of people in the public. I really don't. I'm not sure if that was the wisest thing in the world that Ryan Tubridy said yesterday. A lot of people will be saying the money was off the wall. It was crazy. You can never be paid that again, and nobody can be paid that again. Not just Ryan Tubridy. It's just crazy. Now, for RTE, they have a decision to make. My theory on this and my own thoughts on it, Greg, are very straightforward. I think it's time to separate the license fee payments in RTE from the commercial income. And it's my strong view now that unless the RTE News and Current Affairs and Sports departments, I think, are the only people who can turn to the license fee in future. That's as far as I'm concerned. They're providing the public service broadcasting, and their costs can be met from the license fee when and if faith is restored in the situation and we see the place is being run properly. On the other side of the house, I don't think there's any time left for Friday night chat shows or entertainment shows or quiz shows or anything like that being paid for by the public purse anymore. If you want to put on these shows and pay these big presenters, then go off and get your own sponsors and advertisers. Divide the two of them, keep them separate, make it very clear. And you know what? In terms of public service, I also hold a strong view that it's time for local radio to be allocated a proper share of the license fee as well. Because as a former local radio presenter myself with Shannonside Northern Sound, I know the quality of local radio news and current affairs and sport that's been provided. And to be quite frank about it, I think that's where the license fee and the public, if there's a new charge applied, that's where it should be applied because of the quality of the service that is being provided there. Public service broadcasting, not party political broadcast, not sponsored programs, public service news, current affairs and sport.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Listen, thanks, Kieran, for taking the call this morning. Really nice to chat to you.
No problem, Greg. Good morning,
Kieran. Take care. Kieran Mullally there. We're going to get the reaction now after this short break from Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle, who was quite vocal having watched what happened yesterday. Keep your views and calls coming in.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
At Heron Auto Opel, we're a full type of people, which is how we come up with the Opel 50/50 finance offer. Choose from the Opel Crossland, Corsa or Mokka. Select your flexible payment option. Pair it with 3 years free servicing and meet your new other half. Discover more about Opel's 50/50 offer at the Opel Open Road event. See heronopel.ie for details. Finance is provided by way of a consumer hire purchase agreement by Bank of Ireland Finance. Lending criteria and conditions apply over 18s only. Ownership remains with Bank of Ireland until the final payment is made. Bank of Ireland trading as of Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hip and knee pain can be debilitating. That's why at Kingsbridge Private Hospital, our orthopaedic surgeons offer a range of hip and knee surgeries and are ready to help get you back to doing what you love fast. Why wait? Find out more about our health insurance partners and cross-border healthcare options at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com today.
Donegal's premier summer event, Errigal Arts Festival, brings you fantastic events for all ages and all backgrounds. This July 8th to 23rd. Enjoy award-winning music, theatre, circus, visual and street arts, in person from the offshore islands and the West Donegal Giltuct to the lowlands of East Donegal and the shores of the Inishowen Peninsula. Visit eaf.ie for full details on Errigal Arts Festival, proudly supported by Donegal County Council.
All right, Independent Deputy Thomas Pringle, scathing, I suppose, would be one word you could use in relation to your assessment of what went on yesterday. Ryan didn't convince you. I suppose I could ask firsthand, did you have much time for Ryan Tubridy before this?
Morning, Greg. How are you? Yeah, I suppose that's a fair enough question. I wouldn't have thought much of one way or another.
Take it or leave it. Okay, I get you. So, but you've no bitterness towards him historically.
No, nothing like that. No.
Yeah. So then, what do you think of went down yesterday?
I think basically, like, obviously we've heard Ryan's side of the story, and we've heard RDE's side of the story. The two don't match up, and the truth is somewhere in the middle, probably. But I think it's clear from yesterday that either Ryan Tubridy or his agent knew exactly what RDE were doing, and were quite happy to go along with it. And I think the most telling point...
Can I ask you a question about that? Because that's really critical, because both of them came in front of the Oireachtas and in front of a huge audience, and stated as fact that they thought the two payments were coming from Renault. They thought that account in Britain must be from Renault, and they believed that RTE just wanted these anonymised consultancy fees. Why don't you believe that? Because this is what it comes to. That means that they must have come in and fabricated that for you to hold your view. So what is it about that you just don't see as credible?
Well, it was part of the overall, it seems from yesterday, and that it was part of the overall contract, that this £80,000 would be or euro would be forthcoming. They may have thought it was from Renault, but they knew it was being paid by RTE. They'd done the invoices at the behest of RTE, and they put down that it was for consultancy fees because that's what RTE wanted. So obviously, if somebody wanted to hand me €80,000 and I wanted an invoice done in that way, I think I would want to know why, right? And you would know what it's about as well, too. So I don't think that really washes, and I think that the truth is probably somewhere in between what RTE said the last day and what Ryan Tubridy said yesterday. The truth is somewhere in the middle, and that's what we have to get, or the Oireachtas has to get to the bottom of.
Yeah, and this is not really a political or journalist question as such, but more an observation from even as listeners or just regular taxpayers or licence fee payers. If Ryan Tubridy were perhaps, if he put a little bit of distance between himself and Noel Kelly, he'd be riding high right now, because I think really as I said to a previous guest there, the fact that he stood by him and backed him on it and said he trusted him, he's still shackled to this controversy. I think if he had have allowed it, if he'd have broke it away from that a little bit and gone, well, actually, maybe Noel should have asked those questions, Ryan Tubridy would be planning what's on his show next Monday morning.
I think even if he came in and said, yeah, I should have asked those questions, and put his hand up and said, look, yeah, I should have, and I didn't, and I'm sorry for that. And, I think that would have went a long way to it. I mean, I think the thing that struck me from both RTE and Ryan Tubridy's performances, that's what I've seen of it. I haven't seen it all, of course, but the thing that struck me about it is that basically they're all trying to cover up their element in the deal, which means then that the whole thing falls apart. and nobody's actually coming clean and saying, look, this is what happened, this is what we did. And I think that's all that people really want. Now, obviously, if that is what happened, then there may be consequences on foot of that as well. Like, and that's clear from RTE, because they blamed it all on Dee Forbes. Dee Forbes is actually retired now, so everything's grand, so let's move on. And that clearly is not the way. And you see that Kevin Backhurst has got rid of, I think, 4 or 5 of the management committee that were involved in it, and is looking to get rid of more of them. And I would say, even listening to his comments on Monday, I would doubt whether Ryan Tubridy would be back on RTE as well. And
not with Noel Kelly, he won't. But a question for you just about the Oireachtas committees again, because I put it to a previous guest. You're an elected representative, so I want to put it to you. We've heard the public disquiet about these high wages for years and years and years. We knew that staff internally weren't happy, that they are being asked to take pay cuts, and yet these big figures were being published. Do you think the Public Account Committee or the Communications Committee should have been asking these tough questions long before now, saying, come in here now and explain to us why you're still publishing massive salaries for some, and yet others are being asked to take pay cuts? We've been contacted by RTE staff to say they're upset, they don't like the culture within RTE. What are you going to do to change that culture? I really don't think that those committees should get off scot-free in all of this, Thomas. And I'm just interested from your perspective as an elected TD, if you in any way would share that view. I'm not asking you to call out your colleagues. Some are independent, some are of parties and what have you. But I really think that those committees are grand for grandstanding and try and get you little clips for your Facebook page or whatever it might be. But, you know, they didn't ask the questions when the public were asking the questions.
Yeah, and that's a problem, actually, a parliamentary problem, I think, as well, with the whole Dáil, and that the Oireachtas committees are quite powerful and can do a lot of work and a lot of good work. But the problem is that a lot of the work goes unnoticed. And politicians, probably worse and more so than anybody else, want public attention for the work they're doing and stuff like that there. And so the work goes unnoticed, and so therefore there's not much attention. And so then you get these big events like the Ryan Tubridy thing, and you get all this grandstand, and then and people looking to get their minute of fame in relation to it and stuff like that there. And that undermines, I think, the value that the committee system could have. And you're right, I think the committees could be looking at a lot closer at what RTE are doing now. As far as I know, and I could be wrong in this, but as far as I know, the Public Accounts Committee, that RTE isn't directly responsible to the Public Accounts Committee. So that means that what role they could have in actually questioning RTE. And I don't know, I think they got some sort of special dispensation to actually deal with this event over the last couple of weeks. So that's part of the routine thing. Like, I mean, the Media Committee could be dealing with RTE on a regular basis and asking these questions. But part of the problem then too is, say if somebody raises this bogus self-employment issue that's going on within RTE, they would say, oh, well, that's not the Media Committee, that's the Social Welfare Committee, they should be dealing with that, and there would be a bit of horse trading and stuff like that there to see who would deal with it. But I think really and truly the committees can do a lot more work and could be a lot more effective if politicians would engage with them as well too, I think, which is very important. And I think one of the things too that you would notice as well from the committee yesterday is some people love to hear themselves talking, and they would just go on that. And the way the committee system works, like you have 10 minutes. And I was on the committee last week, and we were told we had 10 minutes to ask our questions. And some members took 9.5 minutes to ask.
I think the chair, I think the chair needs to say, well, now, is that a question? You'll see that it counts. Is that a question or is that a statement?
Well,
right.
I think that what happens is the chair says, like, you can make a statement or you can ask questions.
Okay, so they can use the 10 minutes. Okay, right. Okay,
yeah, so you can use the 10 minutes to do whatever you want. Like, but I mean, what's the point in sitting there for 10 minutes and waxing lyrical yourself about something? Yeah. You should be using it to ask questions and elucidate answers from the witnesses.
So I think everyone wants to draw a line under this. I think this is the last week really where there's going to be public appetite to hear about anything more than this, other than what changes are happening and how things are going to progress into the future. The personalities and all that kind of stuff. I think people are really quite bored of that now. I could be wrong, but I believe that to be the case. I'm sort of tired of it at this point. I'm sure you are as well. So what do you want, or what is enough from Kevin Backhurst now moving forward? We heard from the former political, the former RTE Midlands correspondent, Ciarán Mullally, who says, look, at the way wages are done and who's paid what and how they're paid, all that needs to change. I think really this is about making the staff happy as well. So what do you want to see happen going forward now?
Well, I would like to see this conversation continuing on, because I think what we have to do as the Irish people, but I think
I used to prefer it when you're on the phone. I could roll my eyes on the QT. I did that as jest. Go ahead, Thomas. Go ahead.
But I think what we have to do as an Irish public in that is we have to think about what we want from RTE and what we want RTE to be. And if we accept that RTE is going to be a public service broadcaster and provide a public service, then we have to pay for that. And I think a lot of the problems have arisen from this, of the dual nature of RTE, where it gets revenue in from the private sector, but also depends on public funding. And so I think if we want a public service broadcaster, we have to pay for a public service broadcaster. And then that would actually free up a lot of the private money then to go to the truly private broadcasters as well, and it would make more money available to them.
And Kieran Malady made an interesting point. Yeah, he made an interesting point. If you're doing big quiz shows, if you're doing like Toy Story the musical, or if you're doing make them commercial, get a sponsor, pay for them through the sponsorship money, and then there's if they're successful, everyone makes money. If they're not, the taxpayer is not necessarily on the hook. Thomas, yep. Go ahead.
But then you still don't know what relationship then the sponsor would have with the organisation as well. So you could be sponsoring a Toy Show, the musical, losing money, knowing that you're getting a good deal for something else.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not on, I don't think.
Credits or something. Okay, I get you. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you accepting the invite. Thomas Pringle there. All right, okay. Back shortly.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
At Lidl, we've done our homework on lowering those back-to-school prices, like savings that fit the bill with our 100% cotton uniform bundle with t-shirt, jumper and trousers or skirt for ages 4 to 12, just €6. Fill their pencil case in one place with 3 for 2 on big stationery. Go on, shop without compromise and pay less. Go full Lidl today.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
In the next 15 seconds, you're going to find out where is the best place in the Northwest to buy a bed or mattress. It's Restex Beds and Furniture Mountain Top, Letterkenny, where comfort meets style.
We're having an open event at SEAT. A chance to open our doors and open your minds to the possibilities of our SUV range. With the spacious 7-seater Tarraco, the bold and beautiful Ateca, and the sharply styled Arona, we have something for anyone open to trying something new. And in addition to our incredible July offers, you'll get a free 3-year service plan when you order during our open event. So join us from July 10th to the 17th and we'll greet you open-armed to the SEAT Open event.
Your local SEAT dealer is DMG Motors, Clogh Road, Donegal Town.
Okie doke. Let's have a look through some of your comments coming in so far this morning. Hi, Greg. I've got no time for Ryan Tubridy as a presenter, but fair play to him if he's able to demand that kind of money and pays his tax on it. He only did what all of us would do. It's not as if he was caught on camera accepting a brown envelope for some sort of illegal behaviours, which is a fair comment, I think. Them polls are a joke. Speak to the people on the street. He's done and the UK can have him. Fed up listening about RTE now. Sure, nobody in Donegal listens to RTE radio anyway. Okay, do they not? I don't know. Well, we kind of have a fair idea who listens and where. Whatever way you want to present RTE and the highest presenter, it's, in this opinion, fraud. After what I seen yesterday, Tubridy was not fully honest and threw RTE under the bus, and he thought he was on stage of radio with his display. Answer what question? Any tricky one, he passed them on. He signed the contract and he stalled until the extra 75 grand popped onto the table. Good luck to Ryan Tubridy walking back into that office despite his justifications on his self-value. His colleagues clearly don't share the same view. He may find his staff will be less willing to work with him from here on in, and I think you've hit on what is the big challenge for him. Listeners, you put a washing machine on at 9 o'clock on RT Radio 1 in the morning, you'll get a decent listenership for it. The public will go along with it. The staff, maybe not so. Anyway, listen, that's that for that hour. It was a big story. We had to cover it. I hope I didn't bore you with it. But as I say, it's just been the hot topic now for quite some time. I would like to see it move off the news cycle so we can get back to more serious matters, though, of course, I do recognise that is in and of itself a serious matter. But I think you get my point. We all know how we think now at this stage, don't we? All right, I'm saying, by the way, keep your texts and calls coming in. We're not brushing it under the carpet. It's just... I think that's the last big day of it. Who's to say? Thursday's around the corner.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
PDO Thread Lifts, the ultimate non-surgical lift for the skin, improving facial contours, lifting and tightening jowls, the neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Gweedore. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Gweedore, 07495 325 75.
Donegal County Council invite the public to participate in the second public consultation for Letterkenny Southern Network project at the Radisson Blue Letterkenny on Wednesday 12th of July from 12 noon till 8 p.m. The project aims to develop the transport network south of Letterkenny town. See project website lsnp.ie for more details.
Beggs & Partners are a specialist local plumbing, heating and bathroom supplier. Established in Belfast 1960, we now have 12 branches and are known for quality, value and reliability. Our latest branch in Springtown Drive, Buncrana Road, Derry includes a beautiful bathroom showroom as well as a fully stocked plumbing and heating trade sales counter. Delivery service available. See beggsandpartners.com.
Dergfest Music Festival Castlederg proudly presents international DJ Darren Styles live on Saturday, July 29th at the Dergfest Big Top Castlederg with special guests Andy Whitby, Ultrabeat and more. Tickets $27.50. See dergfest.co.uk. Sponsored by McKelvey Construction Castlederg. Strictly over 18s.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news in full at 10 o'clock. Donegal TD and Sinn Féin finance spokesperson Pearse Doherty claimed a change of government will be necessary to resolve the housing crisis. During his address, Deputy Doherty emphasised rising figures excludes hiding homeless who are relying on the goodwill of loved ones for a place to live. He told the Dáil that no country is exempt from its effects, including his own.
This housing crisis has now seeped into every corner of our society and economy, including my own county of Donegal. And it is a direct threat to the economy, with businesses finding it now increasingly difficult to recruit and to retain staff. The housing crisis can be solved, no doubt about that. But it cannot be solved by this government or the parties that created and deepened the housing emergency. Only a change of government will deliver.
RTE has many questions to answer after yesterday's committee hearings with Ryan Tubridy and his agent Noel Kelly. The state broadcaster is due back before the Public Accounts Committee tomorrow. They have to rebuke claims that numerous RTE executives were aware of the side deal done with Renault and that it was underwritten by the broadcaster. PAC member James O'Connor says they also want to ask former Director General Dee Forbes what it was about when she was fit and well enough.
I went through one by one because I was the opening speaker on the Public Accounts Committee where they first came before us. And I asked who was aware and who knew. And I've no doubt in my mind the people we were looking at that day had a very strong understanding of who was involved in those talks. And they did, for want of a better word, throw Dee Forbes under a bus. Miss Forbes will still have to come before the PAC at a later date.
Bundoran RNLI responded to a call-out on Sunday last when 6 stand-up paddleboarders got into difficulty off Rossnowla. The group consisted of 2 adults and 4 children. The Rescue 118 helicopter was also deployed. One of the 6 had managed to raise the alarm using their mobile phone, which they had stored in a waterproof pouch. The rescue team are urging people to carry a means of calling for help when on the water, as it can make a life-saving difference, as it did in this case. Progress on the National Children's Hospital will be the subject of scrutiny at the Oireachtas Health Committee today. The National Paediatric Hospital Development Board will tell members it's very difficult to provide the completion date due to the absence of a compliant contract programme. The contractor BAM has been the subject of major criticism, and the committee will hear how it hasn't provided monthly progress reports in several months. Health Minister Stephen Donnelly has condemned the ongoing delays.
I have been critical of the pace at which this project has gone on. You'll have seen the opening statement from the Chief Executive of the Development Board today, where he says that progress has been at about 2/3 of what they would have expected. It is very frustrating. The contractor is expected to deliver according to the contract. That's all we've ever asked.
An effigy of Sinn Féin's Vice President Michelle O'Neill on a bonfire in Tyrone is being treated as a hate crime. PSNI officers are liaising with community representatives after the picture and Irish flags appeared on a bonfire in Dungannon last night. The Northern Ireland Fire and Rescue Service says it attended 34 bonfire-related incidents yesterday evening. Hundreds of bonfires were lit to mark the annual 12th of July Loyalist celebrations. Leader of the Ulster Unionist Party, Doug Beattie, is condemning images of politicians and flags being set on fire.
It's wrong. I can use many different adjectives to explain how much I think it's wrong. It's vile. It's depressing in many ways. It's simply wrong. We should not be burning effigies of anybody. We should not be burning anybody's national flag, banners or posters or sectarian slogans.
Donegal Gardaí are reminding the public to never click a link on a suspicious text message and to delete it upon receipt. A text purporting to be from a bank warning of unusual activity is doing the rounds. The recipient is told their card has been placed on hold until further action is taken. Gardaí say if you have fallen victim to such scam, to report it to your bank and then to get in touch with your local Garda station. To weather, mainly cloudy with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Some sunny spells will develop in the afternoon and evening. However, there will be scattered showers too, and some may be heavy. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees in light to moderate west to northwest winds. That's all for now. We'll be back with the news headlines at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices this Wednesday morning, July 12th. The death has occurred in Glasgow of Daniel John Campbell, Glasgow, and formerly of Drumglen on June 30th. His remains will be received into St Constantine's Roman Catholic Church, Glasgow, tomorrow at 6:30 p.m, followed by Requiem Mass on Friday at 10 a.m, with burial at St Conville Cemetery, Barrhead at 11:30. The death has occurred of Mary Gillespie, Tullyarvarn, Buncrana, County Donegal. Mary's remains will be reposing at her home from 3 o'clock today. Funeral on Friday, leaving at 10:15 a.m, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Johnny McColgan, 359 Grahamsland, Castlefin. Remains reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Castlefin, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live on the Urney Castlefin Parish Facebook page. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, directly to Donegal Hospice or via any family member. Family time from 10 p.m. tonight and from 9:30 tomorrow morning before the funeral. Rosary nightly at 9 o'clock. The death has taken place of Declan Decky Boyle, 14 Gaeltex Drive, Letterkenny. Remains reposing at his late grandparents' residence, 32 McNeely Villas, Old Town, Letterkenny. Funeral from there this morning, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by burial in Ulex Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Mary McShane, Upper Kappa Teelan. Funeral Mass today at 12 noon at St Columba's Church, Carrick. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Felix O'Hagan, 77 Beldu Strabane, and formerly of Drummond Court, Strabane. Private cremation will take place in Lakelands Crematorium. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
While on his lunch break at work, Sean switched to 48 Mobile. He got all data, calls and texts for the limited time offer of $6.50. That made him feel like he scored a goal. Yes! So he celebrated by pulling his shirt up over his head and knee sliding across his boss's desk. Good call, Sean. 48 Mobile. Good call. Subject to fair usage. $12.99 a month after the first 3 months. $6.50 one-time activation fee. See 48.ie.
Okie dokie, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. It's good to have you on board today. Good morning if you are after joining us. I hope those who stayed with us for the first hour would agree it was an interesting first hour. Just to let you know what's coming up after 11, by the way, Mary Ferry of Genesis Skin and Hair Studio will join us in studio after 11. So if you have any questions, call, text or WhatsApp right now. So any questions about your skin, care of your skin, treatment of your skin, all that kind of stuff. Get in touch with us now. 07491 25000 to give us a call, or text 08660 25000. So Mary Ferry taking all your skin care and general care questions there. Ryan Tubridy will be replaced by AI shortly anyway and reap megabucks. So what's the difference? A Ryan bot. Okay. Did you see what Stephen Nolan's pay is? You have to try and keep the goose that lays the golden egg. Tubridy did bring in the revenue re-ads. That comes in from Kathleen. It's never really been quite clear, though. You know, that would be like saying that I'm not comparing myself. I'm on a local radio. Just to be clear, I think everyone knows local radio, national radio are two completely different things. It's like comparing apples with oranges. But it would be like me trying to claim that all of the wonderful advertisers that support Highland Radio and vice versa, that I could add up every ad break it's worth all through these 3 hours and then say, oh, look, I should be paid €300,000 a year because look at all. But the ads are scheduled for the show. I mean, what really is my role in any of that? It's zero, I would imagine. I'm guessing, anyway. I don't know otherwise. So I don't know, like this whole thing about bringing in ads. I mean, the sales teams bring in the ads. It's they that have the relationships with the advertisers, I presume. I don't know. It's not my area of business, but it's not the presenter as such. I don't think would anyone advertise on a particular show because of a particular presenter? Maybe you might not, or I don't know, but I don't know. As I say, that's put out there, Kathleen, but my point is how do we prove that? When who stands in for him? Oliver Callan, this is the same amount of adverts are on when Oliver Callan's in. And when the new fella takes over the Late Late Show, the ad breaks aren't going to disappear. The same people are going to be there. Renault's going to be there backing the Late Late Show. They've still got their deal. So, again, I don't fully buy that an individual brings in the advertising money. As I say, I could be wrong. Sensible comments from Kieran, says a listener there. RTE should not be a partner in GAA Go, says another. No way. Yeah, it is a little bit riding two horses. A caller says, Ryan lost me at the I'm a champion of the children and education to make life better. He will forever be known as, yes, the salary is enormous, but that doesn't affect my soul. Clearly a man not living in the real world. And I tuned in for a short while to Liveline yesterday afternoon, just was in the car up in Buncrana actually, and bumped into a few people up in Buncrana. It was lovely to see people up there, and we were up in a shop up there. I can't remember, anyway, we buying stuff. Amazing. Don't think I can mention anyway, but it was lovely to get a few waves and a few hellos from people in and around Buncrana. Why did I mention that? Oh yeah, I was in the car listening to a bit of Liveline, and what you see now is callers going, well, I think one caller put it to Joe Duffy that you don't really get it. You don't know what it's like living in the real world, and obviously his back was up a little bit and says, well, how do you know? You don't know what crosses people are carrying. I know that's true, but if you've got a lot of money, it doesn't mean you're immune from other stuff that goes on in life, but you are insulated from that stress. I mean, out there when money's tight, it's hard to people get stressed with each other. People, feel under pressure. You're wondering how you're going to do this, that, and the other. And then you have to deal with maybe a sick relative or parent or something, or a sick child. But if you are sort of insulated in your wealth, so you have a nice house, you don't ever have to worry about money. Yeah, you do have to deal with the other things in life. I don't begrudge anyone having money, and I'm delighted. I wish everyone listening was a millionaire. But my point is you can't really fully understand what it's like for other people, because you don't really have to consider how much a price a bag of coal is anymore. You don't really, yourself, where you try and decide when to buy your home heating oil, because we can afford that now, but what if it goes up 100 quid next month? Those types of everyday conversations, like when you get back in after your weekly shop and it's like, wow, 180 quid for all of that, or 80 quid for all of that, depending on the size of your family. So I think, when you have an awful lot of money, you are somewhat insulated from that. So I think really these presenters who are on big money are in some way different to the general population, as much as they might suggest they aren't. A caller says, I watched yesterday's proceedings and thought it was a damp squib. Noel Kelly said he did everything at the behest of RTE, but nobody asked who the person or persons was who made the request. Kelly's explanation about the blank invoice for consultancy fees to an unfamiliar company in the UK is not even slightly plausible. Ryan Tubridy gave absolutely no insight into the events and only spoke of his love for children and hatred of world poverty on his own charitable achievements. He reminded me of the utterance of every Miss World winner after they'd received their crown and tiara. The whole thing was a farce. I wonder why Renault didn't have someone there to clarify any points where they could have been any confusion. Well, I think their position is pretty clear. In a way, I can understand why they're not getting all the attention. It was the former director of commercial that instructed the raising of those invoices. That was said during the testimony yesterday. Another, while every part of me is angry at the money Ryan Tubridy is being paid, yesterday the entire event was embarrassing. The bullying type of questions of the holier-than-thou politicians, we are no further forward, an absolute waste of time and more money. More money for all involved, says another. Ryan Tubridy is as guilty as the rest in RTE. It was him who made the deal about taking money under the table. It wasn't under the table, but I understand your phrasing. He can dress it up whatever way he wants. He's guilty, and RTE are a disaster to the country, making people pay for a TV licence so they can have a lavish lifestyle on the people of Ireland off the backs. Never again will I pay a TV licence. Hi, Greg. A big shout out to the man following Ryan Tubridy with the TV stamp licence book. Indeed, when this first started, a couple of people texted in that the licence inspector was around Letterkenny knocking on doors just as it all was breaking, and you think, take the day off, son. Good morning, Greg. You forgot to tell your listeners that it was RTE that paid him the money, not Renault. He got paid for the work, yet he hasn't done the work yet. Why isn't that money given back to the state? CAB needs to be called in to investigate. No, that was stated. The whole conversation is all about that. What I stated is that it was Noel Kelly's contention that money was being paid by the company. And not RTE. And he swears that that's the case. They did not believe that money was coming from RTE. They were also questioned, and Ryan Tubridy said, and I'm not a spokesperson for him, just trying to relate everything that went on. He said that if the company don't want him to do those gigs, then he'll give the money back. But the question is to whom? Right, okay. Another couple of these before we move on to other things. In accounting, surely it's practice to only issue an invoice after goods services were delivered. Indeed, that's a really good point. Noel Kelly did wrong and is the cause of Ryan Tubridy's mess today, which makes it even more the surprise that Ryan Tubridy went to his defence so strongly. Greg, would you not give Tubbs a few hours up at Highland to keep him in work? I think we'd all have to get rid of every single staff member to cover the wages. I agree that Ryan Tubridy was absolutely playing to the one for everyone in the audience crowd yesterday. If the truth be told, he should go voluntarily. Has the man no dignity? I mean, he's blaming RTE, but at the same time wants to go back to work for them. Why? Is it because he actually believes he's the best and most important broadcaster we have, and his ego doesn't want to let it all go, and he needs the platform? Listen, make no mistakes, as I said earlier, there's lots of people thought they were bigger than the organisation they were working for, leave, and then all of a sudden the bottom falls out of those book deals, and all of a sudden you've fallen out with RTE and you want to make a documentary about JFK. Where do you go? Who do you go to? There's no one else. It's the only show in town. You have to keep... I mean, obviously, there is the Virgin Media outfit, but they do a different type of program. They do the Channel 5 type of programs. They don't have 500,000 to chuck at some person's retrospective on American politics. So if you want to, if in this small pond you want to keep doing what you want to do, you have to cozy up to RTE. Sorry, Greg, you're so wrong. The general public think the two of them can go. The two of them are BSers. We just done what RTE asked. It doesn't wash. Okay, thank you for that. As I say, I'm just trying to, get the conversation going. Why wasn't Pierce Doherty asking questions at the PAC? Isn't he an accountant? Some of those asking questions were way out of their depth. He was over having his weekly tete-a-tete with the Taoiseach. Right, okay. Just to remind you once again, Mary Ferry of Genesis Skin and Hair Studio, in studio after 11, answering your questions. And that's for the boys and the girls as well, by the way. We all have to do our bit to try and look after our skin, don't we? Okay, let's take the bingo numbers. Good luck if you are playing today.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, July 12th. You're playing on a blue coloured sheet. The reference number is S18. It's game number 28. The numbers are 87, 82, 75, 57, 31, the number 7, the number 1, the number 3, 29 and 10. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Summer is here, and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Get ready to transform your home with incredible deals during our sizzling summer sale. With absolutely everything reduced, why not spruce up your living room with a stylish sofa? Create the perfect dining experience with our stunning collection of dining sets and relax in comfort with our cozy bedroom furniture. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Wedding suits packages are now 20% off. Just book your wedding suits before August 31st and get a whopping 20% off. Don't stand still. Evolve. Letterkenny Retail Park. Terms and conditions apply.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Now we welcome back onto the show Owen Gallagher, president of Young Fine Gael. They have an anti-spiking bill, which is being brought to committee stage today at 3 p.m. Thanks, Owen, for joining us. Good to have you back.
Morning, Greg.
This is an important one, isn't it? And the spiking it's a difficult one because we cover it quite regularly here because people get reports of it or people believe their drinks have been spiked. Then it can be a difficult one for Gardaí to investigate or to track down CCTV or to prove it happens. So we're going from a position, aren't we, where we must believe that it is somewhat widespread, but statistically it can be a little bit difficult to prove that.
Yeah, so I suppose the statistics are really interesting. If you look at the rates of spiking that have occurred since COVID-19 restrictions lifted, they've gone way up. And I suppose what's really worrying about that is with any issues like this, there is always an element of spiking that goes on that isn't reported. So the figures are often, only a snapshot of what's going on. So I suppose what this bill will do is currently spiking is prosecuted under the Poisoning Act, under poisoning legislation, which carries with it just a maximum 3-year sentence. But our bill will make it a standalone offence, which I think is important in recognising the severity of the issue. But it'll also carry with it then a maximum 10-year sentence, which I think is appropriate given the severity of the issue.
And also vape spiking. That's not something I've ever heard of before, to be completely honest. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is something I only became aware of in recent weeks, Greg. It's something that has started happening in the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure the specifics of how it happens, but it just shows another element of, spiking can happen in any form. And it's really disappointing that, young people and predominantly young females can't just go out on a night out and not have to worry about something like this happening. And I suppose as well as that, it's not just the young females, but it's also like parents and families as well who just have an added worry now when their family member goes on a night out.
And I don't think this new legislation, and we'll talk about its pathway in a moment, I don't think it'll be tested almost in terms of how many people are convicted under it or how many receive that maximum sentence. It's effectively us as a society, I think, saying that we recognise this is happening. We believe it to be a very serious crime, and these are the deterrents. So in other words, I think the real value in this will be the message it sends out, the conversation, and of course that deterrent, Owen.
That's exactly it. And I think, this alone won't stop spiking, but it will be an important tool in stopping it. So we in Young Fine Gael, we've called this our Prickless Nights campaign. So there's three elements to that. We have the first is this legislative aspect. The second of which then is we've called on pubs and nightclubs to do a lot more to curb spiking. We've asked them to make drink lids and bottle stoppers freely available, which we think will be another tool in stopping it. But thirdly, I think we've called for a sort of wider stakeholder awareness campaign, just in terms of looking at spotting the signs of spiking, what you can do if someone is spiked, so start to finish, just helping people every step of the way.
Yeah, so I think it's really important that pubs and nightclubs are seen to be really proactive in this, because if there's one case, there's reputational damage there. 2 or 3 cases, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, everyone's talking about it. Now, I'm not saying should be their motivation. Obviously, it's the health and well-being of their clients, which I'm sure is their key concern. But what I'm saying is it makes sense for everyone to have a buy-in, to put signs up to say, we have CCTV, all that kind of stuff. It would, so that, in other words, patrons and their families, particularly for younger people, can feel that this is a safe space and management aware this goes on, and they're aware of the laws, and they want to make sure that this is completely and utterly unacceptable.
That's exactly it. And, it's just sending a message that this won't be tolerated. You won't get away with it. So don't do it. I mean, we have meetings lined up over the next couple of months with several premises and with security associations, looking in terms of what can bouncers do when people are coming into the premises. Can they try and spot the signs of substances being brought in, etc. So I think all of these things combined will make a big difference.
So what is the pathway now for this actually being, because the wheels can move quite slowly, and I suppose it's important that any new legislation or any new laws are rigorously tested and questioned, and maybe they can be expanded or whatever it might be. So what is the process now? It's a big step to get it to committee stage, but what then happens next?
Yeah, so I suppose we would have been really enthused. We've had great buy-in from the Fine Gael group of senators. The likes of Regina Doherty and Barry Ward have given us great support in terms of sponsoring this bill. So it's moved quite quickly in the last couple of months. We've had first and second stage within the last 6 weeks or so. We obviously have committee stage today, so that'll be the opportunity for senators to give their feedback or criticisms and add to the bill, and then after that it'll go to Dáil Éireann, and then where it'll have to go through there. But at the last stage in the Seanad, at the time it was Minister Harris was the acting Minister for Justice and spoke very favourably of the bill. So we're hopeful that Minister McEntee will be very supportive of it too, and she set a good precedent in terms of making standalone offences with the likes of strangulation and stalking. So it's very much in line with what has been done in recent years.
Yeah, and it's one of those where you can't really see where the resistance might come from. We do have certain lobby groups that might try and have their say in certain different types of legislation, but this one seems to be like, I can't imagine anyone trying to put a strong convincing argument on any level, really, be it commercial or whatever it might be, against this, really, which I think is beneficial in its introduction.
Yeah, so again, at the last stage of the Shannon, it really did get cross-party support. Everybody spoke highly of it and spoke of they would have spoke too, I suppose, of people who got in touch with them and told them their stories of spiking. I mean, we had a survey recently in Young Fine Gael about spiking. The stats and stories that we got were very worrying, and I think the senators across all parties and none had the same experience.
Yeah, and we have to help victims out on this one because of the nature of it and depending what's used and what have you. It can be a couple of days before the facts become apparent and certain things may or may not show up in tests and all. So, I think this is sort of offering a bit of support for those who maybe felt they weren't believed.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you might recover after a few days from an instance like this in terms of health-wise, but the anxiety that a person has then going out on a night out after that, it really sticks for a long time. And again, it's the family and the people around them that just have that added anxiety, which I don't think it shouldn't be the case. People should be able to go on a night out and not have to worry about something like this.
All right, okay. Listen, thanks for the time. We'll follow this with interest. Take care. That's Owen Gallagher, president of Young Fine Gael there. Would you please say a big happy birthday to a lovely lady in Murrayfield, Kathleen Crossan. Tell her we will see her tonight. Have the kettle on for Molly, Drew, Hugo and Rose. Have a wonderful day, Kathleen. I hope you're listening. I want to mention also a bicycle run. It's 110 kilometres and 50 kilometres in aid of the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland. If you are inclined to cycle, you might get involved in this. It's on Sunday the 16th of July, so that's this coming Sunday. It's at 9 a.m. sharp, starting and finishing at Red Hughes GAA grounds. Entry fees €20. There will be some refreshments afterwards. Okay, we'll be back with more after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'd be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'd be them. 07491 43942.
We're sorry to inform you of yet another delay. No, not the train this time, it's John. He's delayed getting his eyes tested. If he's accidentally sat in your lap, knocked over your suitcase or kissed you instead of his wife, we can only apologise. John has now been informed that eye tests and glasses from the €69 range at Specsavers are free with PRSI or medical card, so there's no need to delay booking an appointment. Find out more at specsavers.ie. John, can you get off my lap?
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonher Road, Donegal Town.
Summer reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. We say good morning now to David Mahon, the Grand Master of the Orange Order in Donegal. Thank you very much for joining us, David.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us. A successful event in Rosnala. That's not what we're just referencing that, but a good day.
Yeah, a good day, good crowds and good weather.
Yeah, okay, brilliant stuff. Now, there have been some proposals, I think, from the Green Party to make the 12th of July an all-Ireland public holiday. Is that something that you would welcome, David, if that were to come to pass?
I think it's a nice gesture, but I don't think it's, really practical. And the cost to business, like for having another bank holiday, would be very high. It wouldn't be popular, I don't think.
Yeah, and I suppose then it comes down to someone, if they're working, to make that choice themselves and to maybe use a day of annual leave if they want the day off.
Yeah, I think what most of our members will do is they'll maybe plan their holidays because up to the 12th week, or they'll be owed days from work and they'll use one of their days up. And I think most employers, if somebody wants to go and tell them what they're doing, they'll let them off.
And I think you're being very pragmatic in that, is it practical? But, we have some of the lowest numbers of public holidays in Ireland when compared to our European neighbours. So if we were to add one, let's just say like we did last year or the year before, would you campaign for it to be the 12th of July?
Well, I'd welcome it, but I mean, I just know the cost of business. I run business myself, and I think of enough bank holidays.
Yeah, OK. Let's bring in Councillor Micheál Colm, Magillan Aspeg. Thank you very much for joining us, Micheál.
Greg,
would you back these calls from Patrick Costello? He's a member of the Good Friday Agreement Oireachtas Committee. He's calling on the government to legislate today a public holiday.
I would certainly back and welcome an extra bank holiday for the hard-working workers right across the whole state, but I certainly won't be backing any suggestions from a Liberal Green Party to suggest that we should be calling for a bank holiday to celebrate the Orange Order, a day that's obviously very important to them, but we need to look at who exactly the Orange Order is, what do they celebrate, the history of the Orange Order, the impact that the Orange Order has had on our communities and continues to have on our community, what their ideological positions are in terms of a lot of issues, a very sectarian position they hold on some issues. And for me, the idea that we would be celebrating an organisation that is seen by most as a very backward, non-progressive, sectarian and quite a lot of the time a violent organisation.
Right, David, that's not a very kind assessment of the Orange Order from the councillor there.
Well, I wouldn't share his views, and he's entitled to his own views, but I wouldn't share them.
Why not? What did he say there that you believe to be incorrect?
Well, I think most of it is incorrect.
All right. For what reasons, David?
Various reasons, it's not, we have our style, what you've seen on Saturday past, and that's our 12th of July parade. And I can't see anything wrong with it,
Yeah. And I suppose, there are those within the Orange Order who perhaps see annually the bad publicity that comes from effigies and posters and stuff being put on bonfires. I'm not saying they're all interlaced, don't get me wrong. But I mean, presumably, David, you condemn those types of actions. Not that that's what the councillor was referring to, but it doesn't help in trying to get a more progressive message out there. Like me and you've attempted to do in interviews with me in the past.
Yeah, no, I would deplore any of them burning flags or effigies of anybody. We would deplore that. And that's only carried out by a small minority of people that it has bonfires. It's maybe under the control of nobody, only the local community. They're not Orange Order sponsored.
Yeah, no, and I hope I made that distinction. But Councillor Micheál Colm, is it not the case, though, that, if we are to move forward, that we have to recognise that everybody has their history, everybody has their past, some people have different points of view, and that to move forward, we that we have to recognise all of our differences?
Look, I often hear people talk about moving forward, to move on, forget about the past, to be more inclusive. But I'm not always clear what that means or where the people are coming from who says that, or what maybe agenda, if none, if they have any, or is it just a cliche or something just to say. But for me, I find it extremely difficult. I've been to 12th of July marches, quite a lot of them in my past. Unfortunately, it's on the other side, protecting communities that I was, and I've seen the violence at first hand from the Orange Order, from their members. We've seen Orange Order members right through history, and I'm an atheist, pushing against Catholic churches, protesting outside churches, We've seen, what do you call it, the Orange Order playing sectarian music outside churches.
Yeah, but Micheál Colm,
blood.
Yeah, but
we've seen. No,
I get you. No, I understand. No,
you've
made your point. But let me put it to you like this.
No, but I want to get up to the very present day.
Okay, go ahead then.
Up to the very present day. So we've seen effigies of politicians within the Free State on top of bonfires. We've seen tricolours, and a tricolour that is seen by most as a very progressive flag, a flag that represents different sections of our community. But yet the Orange Order on the 11th night would find it quite happily to see it born on top of bonfires. And we can say what we want, that it's communities, that it's maybe the UVF or the UDA. But by whole, this is a part of the 12th celebration. Okay. We see now, yet again, the Orange Order looking to march in a very, very predominantly Unionist Loyalist community in Portadown, but yet one of the only nationalist enclaves. They're now looking back to march down the Give a High Road, and it'd be interesting to hear, was David himself ever up marching, looking to march down the Give a High Road? Because for me, the idea and that the ideology of the Orange Order, and it'd be worth hearing David break that down, what that's about.
I mean, David, do you want to, I have another question for Micheál Colm, but do you want to respond to that? I mean, have you ever marched down the Give a High Road, wanted to, or do you understand why people might want to?
Probably local people have their own reasons, but I've never marched down the Give a High Road, and I've no intention of getting into confrontation with anybody on the Give a High Road. But I think what they're talking about now is getting consensus between the Give a High Road residents and the local Orange district in Portadown. I think they're talking about...
Not sure about that, David.
Yeah, but Micheál Colm, let me put it to you like this, though. I mean, you're painting, right, the entire Orange Order there in a certain light. I've spoken to David, and he talked in the past, and he talks about where they might be going into the future. But let's just say, and I'm not trying to catch you out or anything. I'm not trying to be smart.
No,
right,
but
no, but you'd be a big advocate of Palestine and the people of Palestine.
Of course, anybody that believes in justice and freedom should be, yeah.
100%. But you do that in full knowledge that, let's say, for instance, if you were a member of the LGBT plus community over there, you would face bigotry, you'd face restrictions on who you could be with, how you could act. You would face restrictions on getting out and exercising your civil rights in marching in the streets. So you're able to cherry pick that and such a firm backing of Palestine and ignore certain elements of how they operate and their ideology and their religion and their culture. But you're not able to afford the Orange Order that same grace.
Well, I think that's two different things, and I'm quite happy to come on Highland and talk about that. I'm also a strong advocate for the LGBTQ plus community.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Since the 90s.
But you wouldn't do that. But you wouldn't march with them. You wouldn't march with them in Palestine.
Well, I think your view, and I think it would be worth visiting Palestine and maybe talking to quite a lot of progressive Palestinian communities, and I don't mean just individuals of this painted view on it, but going back to the question...
Yeah, but honestly, no, you should have a conversation. You should have a... Yes, but my point then is, you see, as I anticipated your answer, and that's why I said in advance that I wasn't trying to catch you out. But what I'm saying is maybe you should have a meeting and a conversation with people that are more progressive within the Orange Order.
I have met people within the Orange Order. I visited Orange Halls within Donegal. I would have good, because I'm very conscious of this interview and how that impacts some of the relationships that I've built up over the years with the London Dairy Bands Forum, within Unionists, within the dairy walls, within Loyalists and Unionists right across the 6 counties and here in Donegal. I have been proactive, along with others, meeting in rooms over many, many, many years. And we have had challenges, and we've had blunt conversations similar to what we've had here. And I will continue to build a relationship with Stuart and others that I have been working with through the years. And for me, this is not a reactionary response from me because of what some Liberal Green Party TD Costello wants to put forward to get some publicity, who hasn't, I believe, thought this through. I'm more than happy to debate that with him. But for me, I have been engaging for a very, very long time.
It doesn't sound like those engagements went very...
with David as well.
It doesn't sound like those engagements...
we see it.
That's what I was saying. It doesn't sound like those engagements went very well for you, given your comments.
They were very successful, and they will continue to be successful, but we have to call it for what it is.
Right.
The Orange Order, by nature, is a sectarian organisation. It's an organisation that is not progressive, an organisation who wants to continue.
Are you
to
saying there's no one with? Yeah, but Micheál, are you saying there's no one within it that's progressive? That there's no people within it that sort of want to see some change themselves? Are you saying that's the case? There's no one in it that.
Well, it depends on our definition of progression. You mentioned the LGBTQ plus community earlier on. I know UVF people that I would engage with on a very, very regular basis who are very pro-LGBTQ plus community, but yet will march and will be marching as we speak today. And for me, when you define yourself as a loyalist, which some, if not all, of the Orange Order members that I've met, and then they go define themselves as loyalists, for me, that is not progressive, because we need to look at what is that loyalty to. Loyalty to an imperialist nation who occupies our country, which has for 800 years. The Orange Order been a part of that reactionary force to dominate the nationalist community. And if we're going to be honest about this, let's be honest and let's talk it through.
Yeah.
And with David there, I'm more than content to sit down and have conversations with him. But I cannot sit down and think different and say different. I can only say what I genuinely think.
No one would try to convince you to do otherwise. But David Mahon, we have to move forward here. We share this space, and it's not just Republicans and loyalists that live on this island now. There's a massive group of individuals that have no skin in this game at all, that have their own religious beliefs that perhaps maybe Micheál Collum might take issue with as well. But perhaps, I don't know, Micheál, would you do that publicly? But, there are different organisations, different groups, different religions that now populate this island that have very different views to you, and in fact perhaps have more in common with other groups. But David, either way, David Mahon, we're going to have to we have to share this space, whether it's divided by a border or not, into the future. We have to find a way to live together, respect each other's cultures, and move forward, David.
Yes, I fully agree that we need to be progressive and move forward and meet and talk and deal with any issues that to be dealt with. But I mean, we'll not deal with them arguing or falling out with each other. We'll deal and be talking.
Yeah. All right.
David, can I ask a question? And again, no more than what Greg wasn't trying to catch anybody out, right? I'm reared. I was reared. I was born into a family which would, I'm not so sure if they were atheists or just weren't practicing Catholics. Most of my family in Scotland are married into people of the Protestant faith and another faith, and a lot of my first cousins are baptised under the Church of Scotland. And for me, I ended up becoming an atheist, good or bad. But let's pretend I wasn't an atheist. Let's pretend I was a Catholic. Could I join the Orange Order?
You can apply. Anybody can apply to join the Orange Order.
So this is a myth to say that. So it's a myth to say that the Orange Order does exclude Catholics. Then. So that's a myth.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is anybody can join the Orange Order as long as they believe in the evangelical Reformed Protestant faith and tender.
Right, so basically, can't be a Catholic.
Well, there'll be ex-Catholics acting members of the order.
I'm not talking about ex-Catholics. I'm talking about Catholics who are practicing, who goes to Mass on a Sunday, does the old rosary stuff, believes very strongly in the faith, in Rome, in the Pope, in their bishops, in their local priests. Can they join the Orange Order?
Well, I'm just saying to you there that you have to remember the evangelical Protestant faith. and change your
that's a noble
place of worship.
But Micheál Colm, I mean, you know that you could say that of any organisation. Do you know what I mean? Could a
but we're not talking about other organisations. We're talking about the Orange Order.
Why would a?
So
why
for
would,
me,
yes, but my point is
that's discriminating against. No more than we wouldn't exclude women from golf courses. We wouldn't exclude women from football teams. No, it does, and it's wrong.
Yeah. But I mean, like, why would a fully fledged member of Fianna Fáil want to sit in on, Fine Gael parliamentary party meetings? I mean, it's what you're interested in.
Well, really, let's be honest. There ain't no difference there now.
That's another conversation I'm not getting into. Listen, David Mahan, thank you very much for your time. David Mahan, the Grand Master of the Orange Order, and also Councillor Micheál Colm McGillen-Aspeg. And we'll have another person's voice on this after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Balderdash, poppycock, porcupines, whispers, untruths, fake news, or as the kids say, cap. Seeds have been planted that Skoda has no stock. Let's put the rumours to bed. At Skoda we have Scala, Superb, Octavia and the fully electric Enyaq, all in stock, ready for immediate delivery and to drive home today. Visit skoda.ie to see for yourself. Skoda. Let's explore.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Call 074 9721
Attention all home and business owners. Are you looking for the best value for money when it comes to plumbing and tile solutions? At McDade's Bathroom Plumbing and Tiles, our experienced staff are ready to provide top quality services and products that meet your needs and exceed your expectations. Our focus is on providing expert advice and top quality products. McDade's Bathroom Plumbing and Tile showroom in Buncrana is dedicated to delivering great value for your money. Visit our showroom today.
Donegal County Council invite the public to participate in the public consultation for the Letterkenny Active Travel Project at the Radisson Blu Hotel Letterkenny this Wednesday the 12th of July from 12 to 8 p.m. The project seeks to establish high-quality continuous footway and cycle routes in Letterkenny Town to promote active travel journeys. See consult.donegal for more details.
Kajimmer Natasha of Colin Ferreter and Shaw. And Charlton Shaw, Rullabully and Shaw Highland Bay and Bannakyol, Boolabug and Mahudgertu, sa studio. Kumai le Fidular Actual Afric Nivrui. Rullabully, Kenya, Bigi Lane.
Okie doke. Michael joins us now. Michael, your views on our last conversation. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Well, no, I was just listening, and something that's kind of annoyed me there. We afforded our hospitality to these people last Saturday up in Rosalia, and safely they came in, they had their good day, they marched, and they went back home that night, some of them, maybe I'm not saying it was them all, and they lit a bonfire, they burned our flag, they burned an effigy of our Taoiseach. I don't think it was a very nice way of saying thanks, for affording them hospitality. It's only 6 months ago that they celebrated in song and drinking in an Orange Hall the death of Michaela Hart, and I felt a little bit hurt about it. Yeah. We let them in still and let them march. Do you know, this was in an Orange Hall. So that's just a point that I have to make, Greg. I was listening to the discussion there,
I get you.
I'm not by no means. I have some very good friends, but at the same time, and that religion, and I was just annoyed, you know.
But it's not obviously. You've got the radio on in the background, so there's going to be a slight echo. But we'll get through it, Michael. But you're not blaming all of the Orange Order. I mean, the Orange Order have.
I know. No, but they're we're talking, Greg, about moving on and good relationship and all. It's a very poor way of doing it, Do you get my point? That's I'm not a good talker or speaker. I'm just an ordinary citizen.
You're doing fantastic, Michael. You're doing fantastic, Michael, and I appreciate you coming on. So don't you worry about it. You're as good as anyone that comes on the show. Thanks for your time.
That's all right.
And your point's well made. And get back in touch with us again now. You've broke the duck now. You can do it again now, Michael.
Sorry, what did you say, Greg?
I'm saying come back on again. Good man. Thanks very much indeed. Right, okay. Jane's with us on line 1. Hi, Jane.
Hello, how are you, Greg?
I'm doing good. Right, it seems from reports today that people of different sexualities and genders, that's going to be normalised in the Leaving Cert. Is that something you welcome or not?
No, I don't welcome it. As a Christian parent, I don't welcome it at all.
Tell me why beyond that, though.
Well, we're Christian, and our Christian morals and beliefs is that sector is immoral, and to teach that to a Christian child is going to make that Christian child very uncomfortable in the classroom.
Mm. But you would accept that, would you, Jane, that these people exist? You know, gay people exist, lesbian people exist, trans people exist.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We know they exist, and we love everybody. Mm-hmm. That is our Christian belief also, but love the sinner, not the sin.
So you believe homosexuality is a sin?
Absolutely, it is, yes.
What would happen, though, if one of your children said, you know, I like someone of the same sex, though, Jane? I'm not trying to catch you out, but, I mean, you know, there are people with your view that have had to have that conversation. I mean, how would you deal with that, then?
Well, I've brought my children up Christian, so they know the Christian, the Bible. Now, the Bible's the same, whether it be Catholic, Protestant, Evangelist. The Bible has not changed in 2,000 years. The Bible has not changed. And I've brought them up to believe in the Bible and in Jesus Christ. And my children, as Christians, already feel it uncomfortable in the classroom.
In what respect, can you say?
Well, they do have friends that some of them have an orientation towards that gay agenda. Mm. And while they're very loving towards their friends, they know that what they're doing is wrong, and they pray for their salvation.
Are you comfortable with them having friends that are gay?
As long as that influence isn't influencing their beliefs.
Mm. Do you believe someone can be influenced into being gay? Like, do you not believe people are born gay?
No, I do not believe anyone is born gay. I believe this is an agenda, and I believe it's been forced down children's throats. And it's a time for the Christian community to stand up and fight for their beliefs now too.
And how does one do that? I mean, let's just say, okay, let's say you had the decision and none of this stuff was taught in school. In wider society, are there changes that you would like to see made?
I've nothing against someone else's beliefs. If that's their beliefs, Greg, I nearly called you Sean.
That's
you sound right like him. I've nothing against someone else's beliefs as long as they're not forcing it down others. Mm-hmm. And as my children are Christian, they are now going to be faced with this education system. Mm. And we knew it was coming. We've known for the last 3 or 4 years that eventually it's going to creep into the system.
You see in 5th or 6th class, in the Leaving Cert cycle, though, Jane, which what we're talking about here, you know, your children then will go on to college, you know, and they won't have your everyday influence there. They've gone to college and they'll see even more people from different backgrounds, different race, different religions, different sexual orientations. Is it not useful that at some point they learn that people are different and that, you know, respect their right to live their lives? They're not going to try and turn them into something they're not in college. Like, is it not positive that they not only have your influence over them, but they also have an understanding that the world is a diverse place and it's never going to go back to the way it might have been hundreds of years ago?
Oh, absolutely. But here's my point, Greg. My children already know this. So they're getting one set of beliefs now forced at them. Mm. So their belief is Christian. So where does the Christian stand in their beliefs? It's all right given rules and regulations for LGTB, but what about the rules and regulations for the Christian? Mm-hmm. This is my point.
But the vast majority of people still nowadays are straight. right?
Yeah.
So the world is by default set up to recognise that, to understand that. In other words, if your children walk down the street holding hands with their boyfriend or girlfriend, like say it's your daughter, I don't need to know whether your children are boys or girls, but say you had a daughter and she's walking through the streets of Dublin after college holding hands with her boyfriend, she's not going to be called names or spat at, or she's not going to be discriminated because of that. So the world is already set up, is it not really, to be understanding and caring for people of Christian beliefs or straight couples. But if she were to walk down the street holding hands with a girl, she could face abuse. And maybe it's because there's an ignorance, because people weren't educated about it in school. That's just a suggestion.
Yes, and I understand where you're coming from, Greg, but there's more leeway. I mean, we've just come through Pride Month, right? And there's a lot of people now that are more open, and that is their choice. But my daughter's choice is, I don't want anything to do with that sort of teaching. I'm a Christian. I have my Christian beliefs. I sit in the classroom and I'm being forced to do maybe homework on this.
Yeah.
And so where's her choice?
Okay, no, that's your view and your daughter's view, and you're perfectly entitled to it. Jane, thanks for your time today.
That's lovely, Greg.
All right, take
Thank
care
you.
of yourself. Good morning. Do you agree with Jane or disagree with Jane? I mean, she accepts that there are all different types of people, but just simply doesn't want her children to be subjected to that education in 5th and 6th class in the Leaving Cert cycle. What's your view?
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Lifford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the 1st floor? With a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop, serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
The one you've been waiting for. The McElhinney's summer sale is now on, with up to 40% off across almost all departments and massive savings across your favourite brands. Don't miss out on amazing offers. Shop in store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet or online at mcelhinney's.com.
Nutrice Intensive Lamb and Nutrice Lamb Crepe Crunch lamb feeds are now on promotion at your local Homeland. Buy 10 bags, get 1 free, or get €15 off per tonne in bulk. Nutrice Intensive Lamb Feed contains intake booster for higher intakes, better thrive and faster finish. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrice.ie for full product details.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
All right, coming up, we're going to be talking skin care. We'll have business news and so much more besides. But let's get the news at 11 o'clock. It's good morning now to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Deputy Thomas Pringle commented it's important for the nation to consider what it wants from RTE moving forward. Speaking on this morning's 9 till noon show, he said that the conversation needs to be kept alight. He added that he believes the root of the problem is the dual funding of the broadcaster from both public and private sources. Just 27 rooms at the National Children's Hospital have been completed out of a target of 3,000. The board of the hospital has told the Oireachtas Health Committee that the contractor of the build, BAM, has failed to provide a progress report since February. Donegal TD and Sinn Féin finance spokesperson Pearse Doherty emphasised rising figures excludes the hidden homeless who are relying on the goodwill of loved ones for a place to live. During his address, Deputy Doherty claimed a change of government will be necessary to resolve the housing crisis. He told the Dáil that no county is exempt from its effects, including his own. Bundoran RNLI responded to a call-out on Sunday last when 6 stand-up paddleboarders got into difficulty off Rosnowla. One of the 6 had managed to raise the alarm using their mobile phone, which they had stored in a waterproof pouch. The rescue team are urging people to carry a means of calling for help when on the water, as it can make a life-saving difference, as it did in this case. And finally, Donegal Gardaí are reminding the public to never click on a link on a suspicious text message and to delete it upon receipt. A text purporting to be from a bank warning of unusual activity is doing the rounds. The recipient is told their card has been placed on hold until further action is taken. Gardaí say if you have fallen victim to such scam, to report it to your bank and then to get in touch with your local station. That's all for now. The next headlines will be at 12 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
You see, it's an interesting warning, and I understand where it's coming from. And I would always never click a link in a text.
Yes.
But I got a text from On Post today because I've got a wee delivery coming. Mm-hmm. And I have to click a link to go into if I want to organise delivery or change delivery, what have you, right? So they could say, all right, for you to do this, you might have to send us 50 cents or something. And then take my bank details, but it's much more than 50 cent. They could probably take the full €2.50 out. So, like, I would love if these big organisations stopped putting links in texts at all.
Yeah.
So you ignore it from the bank, but you don't ignore it from One Post.
Yeah, no, the same.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. The same thing happened to me because I had a delivery coming and I got a text and I forgot to open it, but then the package came, so I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it was probably to alter the delivery, but as I say, you know, the companies need to give us a hand and stop putting any clickable links in text.
Definitely.
I think find a different way, perhaps. All right. Listen, Donna Marie, thank you very much indeed. As Donna Marie mentioned, she's back with news headlines again at 12 o'clock.
Whether it's a 5 or 10K, half or full marathon, everyone's running journey is different. Find your pace with the Summer of Running series with Irish Life Dublin Marathon. Search Irish Life Summer of Running series to sign up. A better life with Irish Life.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. In the Bible, where does it say homosexuality is a sin, asks a caller. But any of these documents, I suppose, are open to interpretation. The 12th is not a public holiday in the UK, Greg. This is a day of celebration for the Orange Order. Majority are in the north of Ireland. No thanks, don't want a bank holiday on the 12th. Okay, and there's more coming in. We're joined now by Jeremy Godfrey, Executive Chair of Commission Naman. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you keeping?
I'm fine, thanks. Good morning.
Right, now you are currently working on, your organisation currently working on developing Ireland's first binding online safety code. Now, talk to us a little bit about that, what's being worked on.
So it's time for platforms to take more responsibility for illegal and harmful content on their platforms. And we have the role of regulating the platforms who have their European headquarters in Ireland, which of course is many of the largest platforms, and to place on them binding obligations to do things to, as I say, to reduce harmful and illegal content. And our first online safety code is going to focus on video sharing platforms, and there'll be a particular focus on protecting the interests of children and protecting the people with protected characteristics from hate speech, and also commercial communication, so influencers on those platforms.
Do you have to strike the balance between what then is freedom of expression or freedom of speech and what is hate speech?
So I think hate speech is quite clearly defined in law. So if there's illegal hate speech, then platforms will have an obligation to make it easy for people to report that. They'll have an obligation to deal with those reports and decide whether or not the report is valid, and if so, to take action like taking down the content. We are, at the moment, we have a call for inputs out, so we're asking people what they think should be in the code. So a question we will be asking would be, should there be specific time limits for dealing with those reports? If so, what should those time limits be?
Is the timing of this coincidental with the introduction of the hate speech laws, in that presumably, once this has all been determined, you don't go beyond the scope of the hate speech laws or short of them, do you? So will this, in terms of, obviously, the public have an involvement in terms of the timelines and things that you talk of, but really what this will align itself with the new hate speech laws, I would imagine, would it not?
So it's somewhat coincidental in that actually we would have the ability to put binding obligations about hate speech, irrespective of the hate speech laws, but obviously being consistent with not only the hate speech laws in Ireland, but also hate speech laws across the whole of the EU, because, as I say, the platforms that are based here, they have people using them across the whole of Europe, and our role is to keep the internet, those platforms, safe for people in Ireland and people across Europe.
Yeah, but people want an understanding as to who makes the decisions. And I know that's not exactly why we invited you on, Germany, as such, because you're looking for people to have their say. But maybe in answering this question, it might be allow people to have a further input. Right, so say, for instance, I'm not asking you to moderate content live here, but under, like say, for instance, someone posts a video of an African person beating up a white person, post that video from whenever it might be, and then you often see, and no offense to anyone, but just to demonstrate my question, they will say, import the third world, become the third world. Like, is that hate speech? Like, will that be taken down? As I say, I'm not asking you to moderate content live here, but it's just to give people an understanding. So is that a view that someone can hold with a freedom of expression, or is that labelling any person of colour in the same way and is hateful content? Because it's that type of stuff that everyone seems to be arguing about on these video sharing websites you talk of.
Yeah. So, thanks for telling me I don't have to moderate the content live on your show, particularly as you know, everything is very context dependent.
Yeah, for sure.
But content which tends to incite violence or incite hatred is to be would fall foul of both the laws on hate speech, so it would be illegal, and it would then, as a consequence of that, would place an obligation on the platforms to take down that content. Now, whether any particular video crosses the threshold, sometimes of course it's very clear, and sometimes there may be it may be more arguable. So the platforms will have to make the decision in the first instance, because they're the ones who are doing the moderation. They will also have to have a kind of complaints mechanism or an appeals mechanism if people are aggrieved by the decision they've made. So either someone's reported content and the platform has said, no, that's fine, we'll keep it up, or sometimes the platform says, yes, we'll take it down, and then the person who put the content up objects to the platform's decision. So they'll have to have appeal mechanisms, and then ultimately, our role is more systemic. It is to make sure that they have those mechanisms in place. It's not to get involved in making our own judgments about individual pieces of content.
Now, in terms of where this, I mean, some of these platforms do have their bases here in the Republic, and then sometimes we can make findings against them that cover all of Europe. Right. So where does this all fit into our role sort of in content moderating or penalising social media platforms? Like, are we talking here about introducing an online safety code that would be exclusive to the Republic of Ireland, or is this something we're sort of also formulating this for Europe as well?
Yeah. So the online safety code will apply to the platforms that are based here, but it'll apply to their activities across the whole of Europe. So the code will be binding on them wherever in Europe they're operating.
And very finally, and sorry to labour this point, but I want to sort of get a sense of what people might be thinking out there. Again, I'm kind of just curious as to who defines what is, freedom of expression. I mean, freedom of speech is a bit of a misnomer, but freedom of expression of what I feel versus what might be deemed as hateful. Because we are in a world now whereby there's not an awful lot you can say that an individual or a group might deem to be hateful. So it's really important, I think, for people to understand, well, who goes, right, okay, well, that's what the public had to say, but these are our guidelines. This is what we set out. Who is doing that? How big is that individual? Are they independent of governments? Do they have input from the social media websites themselves?
So, as you say, freedom of speech is a fundamental right. So is the freedom to be protected, but it's not an unfettered right. And there are rules about hate speech which are quite clearly defined in terms of, is it going to incite violence? Is it going to incite hatred against a protected group? There are rules in Irish law, there are rules in European law, and there's rules in the laws of other member states, but they're all pretty much all very similar. So the question is not actually what are the rules, because they are all essentially around incitement of hatred or incitement of violence. The rules, the difficulty is, how do you apply that in a particular case? So and that's really a finding of fact that has to be made. If that finding of fact, if it can come before the courts as a criminal matter, and if it does, that then the courts will make the decision. In the context of, should content be taken down from a platform, then, as I say, in the first instance, it's the platform that has to, its moderators will make that decision, but there have to be appeal mechanisms. And our role is to make sure that the whole thing is operating effectively. So if a platform is systematically getting things wrong, and is permitting a lot of hate speech, then we can take action against it. I mean, of course, platforms won't get every decision right first time, all the time. They have to have a way of making decisions. They have to have an appeal mechanism. Those are the sorts of obligations we'll be putting on them.
And this can only extend to companies that have their headquarters in Ireland. Is that correct?
So our remit is for companies whose headquarters is in Ireland, but there are but it's a European framework. So the companies who have their European headquarters somewhere else will be bound by very similar rules under the law of whichever member state they're established in. Okay,
how do people have their say?
So we've published a call for inputs, which is available on our website. And so that's the first stage of coming up with the online safety code. And we've asked people, I think till the middle of August, they can give us a submission and respond to that call for inputs and say, so there's a number of questions in that, and they can say what they think about those questions, and we'll obviously consider all the responses, and then we'll draft the code.
Okay, and obviously it is quite possible, dependent on the point of view, that you could be you could receive a lot of contributions in an organised fashion. How do you balance that, or how do you, whether it's those that want a very stringent system, or those that want a more liberal system? You might have groups dependent on their views that might contribute en masse. Do you have a way with dealing with that, or is that something that's par for the course?
Well, we don't know what kind of responses we're going to get at this stage. If we have a large number of responses, we'll have to analyse those responses. I think it's as always with these things, it's not a preponderance of how many people express a particular view. It's more, what is the view? What are the reasons for the view? What's evidence are they providing? And those are the things we'll take into account.
All right, very interesting. Thanks for your time. I do appreciate it. That's Jeremy Godfrey, Executive Chair of Commission Naman. What do you think? 08660 25,000.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today. Donegal County Council invite the public to participate in the second public consultation for Letterkenny's Southern Network project at the Radisson Blu Letterkenny on Wednesday 12th of July from 12 noon till 8 p.m. The project aims to develop the transport network south of Letterkenny town. See project website lsnp.ie for more details.
Sarah moved back first and then Stephen moved in beside her. With this new fibre broadband, they can work from home, so they don't need to live in the city. They love being back, of course. And I suppose there's no harm that they've a free babysitter on hand whenever they want it.
National Broadband Ireland is delivering our high-speed fibre broadband network to homes, schools and businesses across Ireland, no matter how remote or rural.
Granny! Oh, yes, dear.
Find out more at nbi.ie. NBI, building a limitless Ireland, supported by the Government of Ireland.
Change is the only constant in business. So whether you're starting or growing your business, our dedicated business teams will always be here to support you every step of the way. Because the best businesses never stop beginning. Search Bank of Ireland Business. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time is 11:17. Okay, Wellness Wednesday. This week we are discussing all things beauty with Mary Ferry, owner of Genesis Skin and Hair Salon. Great to have you back on the show. Mary, how is life with you?
Life's good. Thanks, Greg, and thanks for having me on.
No, it's good. Every season brings its challenges for our skin. Challenges or scenarios, how we best look after our skin. What do we need to be looking out for in the summer? I mean, the obvious one is exposure to UV, I presume.
Yeah, that's big. Sometimes people forget, sometimes they think that they only need to put on their sun protection in the sun, when the sun shines. And really, it's not the sun you should be protecting your skin from, it's light. So you should be putting on your sun protection factor every single day because it's damaging no matter what, even in the winter. Driving in the car, it's still getting through the windscreen, still hitting the backs of your hands, still hitting the sides, especially the right-hand side, always of the face. And you notice that when people come in for skin analysis, they can see the right-hand side is much more damaged, it's right hand as well. And every day, and it's more so important is that they purchase a good sunscreen that has a broad spectrum. So they need to check that it's covering UVA rays and UVB rays. And just to differentiate between the two, so UVB rays is the ones that cause, you'll feel the tingle and the heat and the burn on the skin. That's UVB. But actually the more damaging one is the UVA, and that penetrates way deeper. And that breaks up our collagen, our little coils of collagen and elastin, and causes the aging.
Yeah,
huge
okay.
aging.
And it's funny you mentioned it coming through the window, because did a deep dive in this one day not so long ago. I was very bored, as you can imagine. And my reading of it was yes, there can be some leakage through car windscreens, but particularly the windscreen, not as much, but certainly the side windows. But people who are lucky enough to have patios, the UV travels actually really quite well through regular glass.
Oh,
because there's a bit of plastic through the windscreen, which does block off some of it. But regular glass, single, double glazed, and certainly the side windows of the car, you can actually be really exposed to the more dangerous, the more dangerous UVs.
Yeah, it's visible. You can see it. You see it on the right cheek, on the side of the face, and the arm, and the backs, and you can see the age spots and the clumping together the freckles.
Everyone's checking their hands here now.
And I'm sure like golfers or people who are out all day, or gardeners will see the backs of their hands as once they're exposed, it starts to damage.
Okay. And but people think this is boring what you're saying, and we're hearing not literally what you're saying. You get hopefully it'll make sense when I say it. But there's the ads are on at the moment about the people having a conversation about, well, sure, you can't get sunburnt here, or and it points out that skin cancer is the most common cancer in Ireland. It really, really is. But then I think the general population, then how good we are making that connection between putting on sunblock as our everyday routine and then reapplying it a little later on. Do you know what I mean? I think we know it has to be. I think sometimes we don't want to hear what you're saying because it's like, well, we want to go out and get a bit of colour and
Yeah, I mean, like, I get it, and everyone wants to look bronzed and tanned and everything. They look better, they look healthier with that glow, and their clothes looks better on them. But there's just easier ways. It's easier, just use a bottle and tan out of a bottle and protect your skin, because it is the most aging factor there is out there. causing lines and wrinkles and damaging. And there's no reversing much of it. It's there. You can stop it at one stage and try to plump it up a bit, but it's done, you know.
But you can halt it. It's never too late to change. So when you're putting on your, say you're using a serum, a moisturiser, and then perhaps sunblock, what order do you put them on in?
So the first step is to cleanse the face. Then if you have a serum, do a serum, and then moisturise, and then your sun protection is the last thing that goes on. Now, there is lots of moisturisers nowadays. I think they've improved in them. They have it. But you need to be looking at a 30 plus, 30, 40, 50. Anything really below that's not enough. Reapplying.
Because I think people grab a 10 and kind of think, well, I'm protecting myself, but I'll get a bit of colour.
Yeah, it's still, I honestly think you're still going to get a bit of colour even through a 30, a 40 and a 50. But, women will get up in the morning and they put on their sun cream and then they're going to put on their makeup. And that's really, really difficult for them to start reapplying that in their work or during the day or they're outdoors or whatever. So if you have no makeup on, it's much easier. It's nice you could reapply that 2-3 times a day.
But wear a wide brim hat or something.
Or a wide brim hat and glasses. On holiday, carry it with you. Keep applying it.
And with young ones as well, I mean, whatever about the decisions we make, you can't really ignore science either. It is probably a good idea to get into that routine of applying it to your young people in your family, and just, even if it's too late for you to change your ways, to just make sure that they're protected.
Yeah, because the damage is done. When damage is done in your teens anyway, and it's like burning, then as you get older, it's that's when you see the age spots developing, in their 50s, 60s. Really, that's not just been done in the last few years. That was done as a teenager, and that's them clumping together.
So how frequently should apply SPF? It's a question that's come in.
Well, I would say, if you're not wearing makeup, carry a little pot of it. I would dispense a little pot of it into it and carry it with you in your bag or in your pocket. And 2 or 3 times a day. Men who don't wear makeup,
easy peasy.
Easy for them. But for women, it's more difficult if you're wearing makeup. But at least do it in the morning before you go out.
What's the best way to apply retinol? A lot of my friends recommend it, but I have sensitive skin, so I'm slightly nervous trying this.
So retinol, they're very popular. Retinol it's your vitamin A now. It's your it's AHAs, alpha hydroxy acids, and the BHAs, the beta hydroxy acids. They are the 2 most popular ingredients at the minute, and they will treat acne. They'll treat aging skin, and basically, see, for someone who is, what did you say, sensitive, dry?
Sensitive
skin. Then they have to be careful. So wherever they're purchasing it from, they want to make sure that they purchase something with a very low percentage of the glycolic or salicylic acid in it. It needs to be a low percentage. And then it's nighttime only. Like, a retinol should not be put on in the morning, should be nighttime only, because it works as you sleep. It's like a little whirlwind, goes into pores as you sleep, and it exfoliates the surface, desquamating the skin. But for somebody like that, I would do it maybe only twice a week to start with. Maybe then after a couple of weeks introduce 3 times a week, and then so on. But not every night. Not that building it. And you know what? There might be loads of skins out there I wouldn't agree with. There's different forms of retinol. You've got your synthetic form, and you also have a natural form, the botanical extract. So it's trial and error.
Just that phrase, sensitive skin, and this is not to deny anyone with sensitive skin, don't get me wrong, but we always we talk about it always with the presumption that it is a thing, like their skin is sensitive, right? But really, sensitive skin is a status of skin, isn't it?
It
really
is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So really, you should try and not have sensitive skin as well. This is not to this caller as well, but it's your skin that has become sensitive, but it's a state of skin. It's not actually your type of skin per se.
No, I get you. Yeah,
you get where I'm coming from?
Greg, there's people do think that they have sensitive skin,
and that's it.
And really, they just need to treat it with the right products, and there's lots of things they can use on a sensitive skin, and there's no problem. But they do need to avoid the likes of, when I say sensitive skin, you can have a highly sensitive skin where if you touch it and it just becomes boom red
100%
on touch, then that's highly sensitive, and you can still get the correct products, but you have to make sure there's no perfumes and no oils and no products.
So it's about bringing your skin back to a good balance, isn't it? So rather than treating everything as de facto sensitive skin.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about why is your skin sensitive. Okay. Please ask Mary, what's best treatment for rosacea? I use SPF all year round and I look after my skin very well, but my cheeks are very red. Please, also, I'm very sensitive. So, as I say, they're doing everything right, but still the rosacea is something they want.
Do you know rosacea? Rosacea is probably the most common skin problem I get in the clinic.
And is that a reddening
off the face? Yeah.
Off the face.
Do you know I'll tell you, explain how it starts. There's 3 stages to rosacea, and you will get the first stage is like you just might be out and about and you'll get a flush of redness and it'll last a couple of seconds and it's gone, but you can feel it. And that is not menopause. You know, that menopause can do that too, but I'm talking about 30s, 40s, any age. And then what happens is untreated, you can, next thing it'll happen, it'll stimulate again. Either try to think of the trigger. What did I just do before that flush? And the flush might last then for 2 days, 3 days. And the third stage is the flush will last longer, might be up to a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And they also will develop little papules and pustules, like spots. And to be honest, it's very similar looking to acne.
Is that acne and rosacea?
You know, and they're 2 different things.
Okay.
2 different things. So, you know, acne's acne and has the blackheads and all that, whereas rosacea is different.
But I have heard the reference to that.
Oh yeah, acne rosacea, yeah, it can be referred to as that, but it's different treatment for a totally different treatment.
So what can be done for this person?
So rosacea as well, it is an inflammatory disorder of your circulatory system, okay? So there is no cure. There is only, you can only control it and you can keep it under control. And we do it really, really well. We work with it, we do it really well. You need to use, as I said earlier, you need to use products that have no perfume and no oils in them. And successful treatment is underneath all that redness, it depends how long they have it, there will be broken capillaries. You treat the broken capillaries because they shouldn't be there anyway on the surface, because they're retaining all that blood on the surface. Get rid of them, and then you do laser and you bring it right down.
And there's a maintenance from then on in, really.
It is. Unfortunately, you know, we're talking about staying on the products that have perfume-free, oil-free, and then a laser session maybe every 3 or 4 months, or people are lucky, they might get 6-9 months out of it. But
dependent. They'll know themselves with
can
their
be
own
kept
skin.
well under control.
Is that incredibly expensive?
For a treatment, about 155.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not. It's less than Botox or something, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah.
Not conflating.
We can go there too.
No, you're all right. But my point is that you know it's in that ballpark that some people will spend on a reasonably regular basis. That's what I'm trying to get.
It's a condition, and you just
people
have to
make sacrifices to do those things. Could you ask what to use for milia in an adult, please?
Oh yeah. Okay.
What is that?
So what milia is the little white spots you get on the skin. They're little raised bumps, and the cause of milia is there's different causes, but the one would be like it could be something that's too rich, too oily, too thick that they're putting on their skin, and all it is that the oil in your skin, the sebum that we excrete every day naturally out our pores, is trapped, and something's trapped it in, and it can't get out. If that milia, have you put a pin in it, which you don't, but if you did and exposed it to the oxygen, it turns black, and that's your blackhead. So it's a milia that hasn't been oxidized into a blackhead. How to treat it? The other thing that can cause milia as well is too thick a product. It could be, especially there with that good month we had of good weather, I found more and more people were getting milia, and that is because when you're in the sun or on a holiday and you come back, you'll start to get milia maybe around the eye area, up a cheek, down around the chin. That is when you're in the sun, your skin cells multiply twice as fast, just like your nails will grow longer in the sun. The skin cells are multiplying much, much quicker and not shedding enough quicker off the surface, and they get blocked. Plus, you're putting on sun cream while you're out there and everything's trapped in. Treatment, you can use a little micro lance and you lance them. We remove them by lance scooping them out, and they just heal over perfectly. Or a little diathermy, putting a needle in them, and then they pop out themselves.
Okay.
They're easily treated, really easy.
All right, this is a question I probably should ask when we're talking about SPF, because I have had this debate off air. We are vitamin D deficient in this country, okay, and SPF is going to block that, right? So, especially for developing children and all. So the question is, how do we get on natural vitamin D if we're blocking the vitamin D, the natural vitamin D source from accessing our skin?
Yeah, true. I know. I believe in, for kids and everybody, let everybody get out in the sun for a good 10-15 minutes and then put on your sun cream.
Right, yeah.
And do that. If it's a good day, daily, but then put on your sun cream. And I believe everybody should be on a vitamin D supplement. Even the little drops for kids, because we're not getting it. We just don't get it in this country.
Even with the best will in the world, with no SPF. I have spots of rosacea in through my eyelashes. How can this happen there and nowhere else?
Do you know that's called ocular rosacea, and it can be painful. It can develop right around, but in the eyelashes, it'd be unusual if the person didn't have it on the cheeks or face as well, but maybe they do. I don't know. But for the eye ocular one, I would be definitely referring her or him to the eye specialist. Martin Coyne is excellent, because there's special. In Lifford, he's based in Lifford, special eye drops and lotions that you'd need to be taking and putting on that to treat it.
Yeah. I have psoriasis on my scalp. It's causing hair loss. Any tips? Tried everything, they say.
Yeah, psoriasis is a hard one. I've treated psoriasis on the face and it's been very successful, but on the scalp and the hair loss, something new that's in the market right now is called mesotherapy. So you inject into the scalp where the bald patches are, or I don't know, after COVID, lots of women as well have thinning hair and areas that never had before. So I think COVID's brought a lot of conditions to the surface, and injecting the scalp with it's a high concentration of vitamins, minerals, will stimulate the hair follicle that are lying dormant. Now, there's hair follicles that are dead. You'll not stimulate them, but it will increase, and it's really successful. You need about 4 treatments every 2 weeks, and that will stimulate. But as for treating psoriasis, no, I don't know. I'd probably be a GP that would need to put treatment on that.
I'm 33, and lately I've noticed large hair growth on my chin and my lip. The beautician keeps telling me I need laser, but I've got very sensitive skin and I'm afraid to risk it in case it does irreversible damage. Any advice on anything else I could try first? Or maybe some reassurance on the laser, I don't know. Patch test anything like that?
You can't do laser hair removal anyway without a patch test, and you need to see the hair. First of all, you can't do laser on hair that's not dark, so it's a waste of money. So it needs to be dark brown or black, preferably black, and you'll get a good result. But you then would do a patch test and see how you react to that. For the hair growth at that age, at 33, it's definitely a sign that there's a hormonal imbalance that's causing it. Or maybe a medication, or it's worth also getting your hormonal imbalance checked with a blood test.
Yeah, double check that these aren't little indications of something. Nothing bad, but just something that just needs to be looked at. Yeah. There's a cause and effect for most things, isn't there? Can you ask Mary, how long do you need to leave between the serums and the cream routine? Because, people feel you're putting the cream on top of the serum. Is the serum, are you just mixing it all up? Why not just slap it all on at the same time? Eye cleanse tone, then hyaluronic acid, serum under the eyes, then anti-aging eye cream, then the retinol night cream, and the same routine in the morning, finishing with day cream. Does everything have to dry before applications? Good question.
Well, putting your serums, your serum should be absorbed immediately. They should just dry.
Yeah, but they're still on your skin. You might tell from me. I use my serums.
Yeah, I know.
But do I wait till they dry and then bang on the face cream?
Oh no, I just put them on, layer them up. But just remember as well, you need very little of everything.
Yes.
Your skin can only absorb so much. So no
one is sitting on the skin.
They're not on. They're going to a good skincare with molecular size that are so minute they'll penetrate. But they shouldn't be sitting on the surface. And if they sit on the surface, they're just a bit too greasy for your skin type. They should be absorbed straight away.
Okay.
And use very little.
I use Aquas cream and A45 cream for flaking skin. It's not working. I did have radiation treatment about 2 years ago. Any advice?
So that's E45. I think it's E45 and Aquas. E45 and Aquas creams, they're actually just the base of all ointments. They would act as just an occlusive on the skin. So it's like, like you're putting a layer of Vaseline on the skin, a layer of E45 or a layer of Aquas. they're going to do nothing for the skin, only sit on top, and all they're there for is just to trap the moisture in the skin. They're not penetrating, they're not treating the skin at all. Really, did you say, was there radiation?
Yeah, radiation 2 years ago, yep.
So there's plenty, there is treatment for, we treat cancer patients all the time, and that's what they're left with. They're left with that red, raw, irritated skin, and there is treatment for that using the right products.
All right, I have time for one more. I'm celiac, and as a result, I have issues with my skin. Can Mary recommend anything to ease the itch?
What is the condition?
Celiac?
Oh, celiac, yeah. Oh, for celiacs, do you know, I'd recommend a celiac. I've come across a few that they see a homeopath, and excellent. See, for the itch, the likes of, they would recommend the correct homeopathy remedy to reduce that itch. But then again, like that, for the skin, for the flakiness and dryness of the skin, there is treatment for that. And ideally, you'd need to see them, to see.
Yeah, of course, exactly. But in other words, there's something possibly can be done. We'll come and have a look. Okay,
this is a solution for everything.
Yeah, okay. Mary Ferry, owner of Genesis Skin and Hair Studio. Where are you based?
In Gweedore.
In Gweedore. Yeah. And if people want to get in contact?
They can. We're open on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it's genesissalon.ie is the website. And it's 07495 32575.
Great to see you again, Mary. Thanks for calling in.
Lovely, thanks.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Design driven by impulse, performance in tune with your emotions, an instant connection, electric. At Cupra, we believe in galvanising these instincts. It's why the Cupra Born, our 100% electric model, looks, feels and behaves unlike anything else on the road. Follow your impulse and visit cupraofficial.ie to see our incredible July offers. Cupra Born. Test drive today. Own it tomorrow.
Building, buying or renovating? Irwin Expert Electrical, your one-stop shop for all your electrical appliance needs. Enjoy our free layaway service and explore a wide range of brands including energy-efficient, large and small kitchen appliances and food prep essentials. Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
2 gig full fibre broadband from Virgin Media has landed in Donegal. Hear that, Aoife?
Huh?
Time to lose yourself in the latest Scandi crime series.
I have no idea what's going on here.
You should really put on the subtitles.
Fair point.
Whatever your genre, whatever way you play, Virgin Media is here. Switch today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
Subject to location and availability.
Join John Breslin and the Highland Radio Outside Broadcast team this Friday from 12 noon to 2:30, coming live from Inishowen Credit Union in Carndonagh. Celebrating, now open and serving the community 5 days a week. Tune in this Friday to hear more about Inishowen Credit Union.
Business Matters in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. If you have an undergrad in any discipline and would like to reinforce it with a Masters in Business, ATU are offering their Masters in Business Management Conversion Programme. Call 9186 206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
Okie doke, Wednesday morning, just before 12 or just after 11:30, depending which way it suits me best. It's time to welcome into studio Kieran O'Donnell, presenter of Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast, available for you right now. We'll talk about that a little later on, but first I shall ask Kieran, how are you?
Good morning, Greg. I'm just admiring your new seats.
Fionnuala's new seats.
Very colour coordinated.
Are they comfortable?
Are they non-squeaky?
Yes, that's the key thing.
I was thinking that.
But Donna Marie was saying they're not terribly comfortable to sit in.
No, so this will be short and sweet.
No, listen, we'll get you a wee cushion. We'll get you a wee cushion.
Very posh looking.
Aye, well, and people are less inclined to move them around and they don't squeak. Okay. And the purple too, which is the key thing. Right, okay, that's the seats sorted. Business information session, Kieran. What's this all about?
Yes, Greg, the Donegal Local Enterprise Office will hold its next business information session and grant aid workshop on Friday. That is July the 14th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. This session gives an overview of the support and services available to small businesses in Donegal, and to book a place, check out Leo's social media platforms.
Now, I kind of learned that there was an Iceland store in Letterkenny, and then learned that it was going to close all at the same time. I'm not really, I didn't know it was there, to be honest with you, but obviously it was providing income for people and popular with some, but bad news for the store in Letterkenny.
Yeah, the Iceland store in Letterkenny has closed 3 weeks after its parent company went into examinership. It was set up in the Courtyard Shopping Centre and it reopened in 2017, creating 30 jobs. And I suppose it comes on the back of the recent closure of Argos at the Letterkenny Retail Park. So, you know, it's very unfortunate. Argos was always a place I enjoyed getting into myself, and I suppose you kind of wonder how big an impact the move to online impacted on that decision to close the Argos stores.
Yeah, but they're still running in Strabane. And Iceland, sorry if you don't know this, I don't want to put you on the spot. The Iceland brand, is it across the UK? It's closed as well, is it? Or gone into examinership?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to throw that on you.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's because it's a synonymous name, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose the other thing is, it was on the Courtyard Shopping Centre, and I suppose the frontage was at the back, I suppose, and I suppose that's one reason why people it might have been overly visible.
All right, congratulations to the crew at the Silver Tassie.
Yeah, Kieran and Rose Blaney and their staff at the Silver Tassie are celebrating after winning the Team of the Year award at the recent Irish Hospitality Awards. The family-owned 4-star hotel has 36 bedrooms and is a popular wedding and function venue, and well done to all concerned.
Yeah, when the Silver Tassie was sponsoring this programme, there was an option to go out and test the spa, get a spa treatment, and whatever way it happened, or at the time, or maybe it was my mindset, I didn't get out. But now I'm all into this stuff. So, you know, I'm a new man.
Are you going out soon?
Well, we'll see. We shall see. Right. Anyway, but have you ever got a spa treatment, massage, anything like that?
Not a spa, no.
You're really missing out.
Right.
You really are, Kieran. You need to embrace the modern world.
We'll book a weekend away, Greg.
Me and you?
Why not, sure.
A bit awkward. I'd just be like... pints. Anyway, come here. Letterkenny Credit Union is got a important visitor.
Yeah, history was made following a visit by the country's 2 most senior officials in the Irish League of Credit Unions to the credit union, and that was last Thursday evening, Greg. CEO David Malone and newly elected President Martin Bush met the board of directors, committee members, staff and volunteers at their offices on the High Road. So.
All right, okay. Now, Bank of Ireland have released their spending analysis, which gives us a really good insight, doesn't it? Yeah.
Bank of Ireland debit and credit card spending in June 2023 dropped by 6% when compared to May's spending, and that is according to Bank of Ireland Spending Pulse. While outlay fell across both the domestic, retail and social sectors, teenagers aged between 13 and 17 led the way in spending stakes, recording a 23% rise in outlay compared to the previous month. So I would say the closure of the secondary schools, Greg, may have been a big factor in that. Social spending in June fell by 5% overall, with fast food purchases dipping by 5%, pub spending falling by 4%, and outlay in restaurants declining by 1%. So a quick analysis there. A few runs less to the chipper and a few pints less being consumed in the pub.
But still pretty much going out at the same rate for something to eat in the restaurant. Okay.
I suppose you'd wonder where that money's been spent. Maybe is it holidays, or people away, or are they maybe doing other things?
I don't know. Or are they using
tourist
Revolut?
Attractions possibly?
Or are they using Revolut? I don't know.
Yeah.
See, I don't know.
Tourist attractions was one of the things I saw another part of the report that may have been impacting on where the money was spent elsewhere.
Yep, but as I say, I presume that it's structured in a way where the account for people who are Bank of Ireland customers using other cards and stuff, they must have a core group of 1,000 or something.
And I would say they are going to compare like with like compared to what they use for May.
Right, okay. Interesting. Social spend down a little bit. Okay, we are going to take a quick break. Do you mind? We'll take the 1:45 break, Kieran, and then we'll come back and look forward to the podcast. Is that all right with you?
You're the boss.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
It's the summer of savings at SuperValue. Enjoy great offers like Kellogg's Rice Krispies 660 gram, Special K 750 gram and Crunchy Nut 720 gram, only €3. Selected coffee pods like Lore 20 pack, Tassimo 16 pack, any 3 for €12. And money off vouchers every week on the app. For a summer of savings, it's got to be SuperValue.
Join us in Austin-le-Alton, Gordahork every Friday night this summer for Donegal's best night of music and dance with one of Ireland's finest singer-songwriters and entertainers, Sinead Crampsey, on stage from 10 till 12. Why not come early and join us for our Friday night steak night offer? 2 delicious steaks for just €36 and stay overnight with bed and breakfast the following morning for just €70 per person. For reservations, call Austin-le-Alton on 074 9135 267.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Attention farmers and professional users of pesticides and sheep dip. EPA reports in recent years have identified that some rivers in Donegal have been seriously impacted by toxic effects from pesticides, including sheep dip. Donegal County Council would like to remind farmers, contractors and gardeners of the need to follow best practice when using these products. Firstly, read the product label carefully. Avoid spills. Stay well back from open drains. Rinse empty containers 3 times into the sprayer or tank. Don't spray if it's windy or rain is forecast in the next 48 hours. Follow Teagasc advice on safe disposal of spent sheep dip, which should never be released into any water course. Donegal County Council, protecting your environment.
Okay, we're still in the company of Kieran O'Donnell, presenter of Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast, and we've had the business news, and it is on to the matter of the podcast. So who's on the show this week, Kieran?
My guest this week, Greg, is Oliver McBride, editor of the Fishing Daily and director at Saltwater Media. After working in a number of different jobs while combating third-level studies, Oliver set up the Fishing Daily in September 2019, and in January 2020, the news platform went live. In 2021, he set up Saltwater Media with Michael McGinty, owner of Minute, the locally based web design company. So Saltwater Media, Greg, provides a marketing services for businesses and who are seeking to promote themselves and their culture through the use of Irish and other languages. So it is a niche market. A native of Downings, Oliver hopes Saltwater Media will expand and create up to 4 jobs, and also has plans to increase the growth of the Fishing Daily. During our conversation, I asked Oliver what was the best lesson that he'd learned in business since setting up 4 years ago?
I've learned a few lessons. For me, I think it's trust your instincts about stuff. Like, self-belief is a very important thing to have. Like, there's such a thing as having an ego, and there's such a thing as having self-belief. But you don't have to have the ego. You just have to have the self-belief that what you're doing is right. You shouldn't do things blindly. You should really do your research and look at all your options. I suppose every business is different. Do you know what I mean? Like, you learn different things when you're in different businesses and stuff like that there. But I do think if you've been around for a while like me, I think it comes down to it's just trust your instincts.
Yeah, and indeed, it's not unique advice either. It seems to be quite a trend for those in business, regardless of what type of business they are in. Is it mostly online, the Fishing Daily? Is that a collation of sort of
online,
news
with podcasts and videos and articles. He referred to the fact himself that he's been around a while. He's worked at a lot of jobs, Greg. Primerica as in technical management. He worked at a couple of solicitors' office. He worked with River Media, Letterkenny Resource Centre. He was a market manager at Dunfanaghy Golf Club. He worked with Mara Media for a while. And then 4 years ago, after doing a bit of research, he got help from DLDC. He decided to set up the Fishing Daily. He joined forces then with Michael McGinty shortly after that. And what the website and the services they provide is the website is in the language that's in the market that they're trying to sell to. So it's very specific. It's built from the bottom up through the medium of Irish. Google Translate doesn't work because it's not accurate. So this is foolproof, and I suppose they'll do it in other languages as well. So
it's kind of interesting if you translate something from Google into a foreign language or into the Irish language, and then translate it back. It really starts.
So this is getting it's accurate. Obviously, it's a good boost too for the Irish language. They've identified a niche market. as being officially launched very, very soon. They've got help from Udrus and hopefully a success for the two men.
All right, the full interview with Oliver McBride's available to download now at highlandradio.com. We'll just stream straight off the website. It's also there for you on Spotify and iTunes, and it's on the radio, of course, as well, Kieran.
Yeah, after the 6 o'clock news, Greg, on Sunday evening.
Right, okay. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, in touch with the programme, best way is email, I think.
Yeah, just the usual email, please, Greg. businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
All right, Kieran, and how many episodes is that now?
153.
Well done. That's some body of work when you think on. All right. Thanks very much, Kieran.
Good morning,
it's great
Greg.
having you on the show as always. Kieran O'Donnell there, back with us between 11:30 and 12 next week. And just to reiterate, the podcast available for you right now on our website, highlandradio.com. And there's a whole host of other stuff, by the way, for you to listen back to or to listen at your leisure. Stuff that was broadcast previously on Highland or stuff that's exclusive for the website. Just go on to the website, highlandradio.com, and you'll see in the listen back section, there's sports there. You can listen back to the score. You can listen back to the DL debate. You can listen back to Donna Marie Doherty's features. This show is there. There's other podcasts and other on-demand content available for you there. It's a library that's growing all the time. And, you know, also, it's very important for us to find out what you think as well. So if there's other content or stuff that you think would be of interest to you, feel free to email inquiries at inquiries at highlandradio.com. Feel free to email on that address. There's no issues there whatsoever. If you wish to make some suggestions for online content, on-air content, we're always more than happy to get your feedback. A caller says education should have nothing to do with your religious beliefs. Education is learning. I watch quiz shows on TV, not because I want to appear as a contestant on any show, but because I want to expand my knowledge. Just because you don't believe in a particular subject doesn't mean you should close your mind to learning about it. 100% Jane is right and correct. And the first texter there responding to our chat just with Jane just before 11 o'clock, who was of the opinion that she has raised her children as Christian, and they are very firm in their Christian beliefs, and they love and respect everyone, but their view is the sin and the sinner. I don't want to misphrase it, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. Hate the sin, not the sinner, I think was the phrase that was used. And she doesn't want her children being exposed to conversations about sexuality and all things LGBTQI+. Yes, that lady is right. I do have a daughter who has told us that she's gay. I love her just as I did through her life, but this agenda of teaching our children and making Christian families conform to this agenda that is being pushed onto children from early primary school is wrong. If parents take the time to examine and go through what our children are being taught, we would be sickened and horrified. And I wonder, has everyone done that too? Because, I was kind of having this conversation with Caroline before we come on air. Like, I think it's really important that we know what's being taught in schools and how it's being taught. That sort of goes for everything. Because what happens is we're going to do that tomorrow. That's good. Because what happens is then you see everything becomes about one book. You know, when they hold the book up and they say, this is what's being given to your kids and these are the phrases in it and this is indoctrination and this is the part of the agenda. I'm not taking a hand in saying that, right? But is that really what it's all about? Well, let's find out. Let's find out what's being taught in schools, how it's being taught, what's being said. And I think we'll have more knowledge and with that knowledge comes power. And then we can say, you know what? That's a bit too much, or actually, right, I thought it was what this person said on Twitter. A few years ago, the government asked the people by referendum to remove blasphemy from our constitution. The obedient public voted to remove it. So now God's law is irrelevant, while not embracing LGBT is a crime. We do this to ourselves. A caller says, while I didn't fully agree with that last lady, Greg, I do think the pride stuff is getting overbearing. Gay people are a small percentage of the overall population, yet the coverage isn't proportional to this. It blocks everything else out. It was Men's Health Week 2 weeks ago, for example, but there was little to no coverage of this anywhere. It was all pride, pride, pride. Just my 2 cents, Greg, and thank you for your 2 cents. And listen, make no mistakes about it. Everyone is different and everyone has opinions. And I know there are people in the LGBT community that themselves don't necessarily like pride or themselves don't necessarily fully embrace the T and the I, for an example. Do you know what I mean? So everyone has different views, not only from outside those communities, if I can put it like that, but within them too. Hi, Greg. I totally agree with Jane. Children do not need to be taught in school about gender differences. Leave children alone, and if your child's experiencing gender problems, then the parents should be able to guide and explain and teach their children through this. So much talk about this, and online influence is not helping children be children anymore. Good show as usual. Thank you. Again, too, and as I say, this is not me to say what you've just texted in is wrong. It's just if me and you were sitting having a cup of tea, it's just for the purpose of chat. That is presuming that all parents, though, are really good at doing what I think you probably are really quite good at. Sitting your children down, them speaking to you, you being able to give them advice. But not all parents can do that and guardians can do that. I'm not sure if the majority can or the majority can't. I don't know. But maybe that's why there needs to be some gaps filled in the school environment, but what are they? I don't know. I agree with Jane. Thank you, Jane, for your Christian balance and explanation. The big problem is that it's not just senior cycle where this topic is being pushed. They're introducing the LGBT gender lessons to the very young children in a gradual, sneaky way. Parents must pay more attention to the content of these lessons. I would definitely agree with that in terms of paying more attention to what's being taught. Hope the block suppliers in Inishow and Donegal are given the same grilling by our TDs in front of the cameras. This is Mickey Mouse stuff with Ryan Tubridy. The country's falling down. Surely our public reps have more to do. That comes in from Patrick. Tough to argue with that, Patrick. Who issues an invoice with no name on it? Only someone avoiding the truth. When one's doing VAT returns, that's a red flag. And how come the first invoice had VAT at 23% and the other two were nil VAT to a UK company? Because it was a UK company. This present RTE debacle will enable the abolition of the TV licence, thus paving the way for the government to mandate a licence to cover all modern media devices, and everyone will have to pay to stay connected to what's instantly available on phones and laptops. And that is something that is up for grabs, definitely. There's another text out here. Thanks very much for that. I'll not read it out loud, but I appreciate the sentiment. Tell the Green Party to make the 15th of August a public holiday instead. Another, Greg, did you ask the Chancellor about his support for the real IRA? Hardly a progressive organisation either, but no surprise you did not. Well, look at... I asked a question about another thing that he's supportive of with a way of talking, to way of addressing his comments about the Orange Order. But I take your point. I don't actually know the ins and outs of what you're talking about there to be able to ask questions. I need to brief myself and that try and ask questions about stuff I have a good grasp of, but certainly something I'll have a look at. What many Southerners fail to grasp is that unionism is not the only community in the North. Patrick Costello wants to embrace unionism, but when will they embrace republicanism? Will they be looking to have a national holiday for our hunger strikers? If they won't accept that, then why should we accept the 12th? Listen, thank you so much to all of you who listened to the show and texted in and called. And for those of you who watched the programme, we really appreciate it. We'll be back with you tomorrow.